I'm gonna call on Darwin to bring that song back. We need to finish that track. And we lost Santi. Can anyone hear Santi?
Yo, did Santi get muted? Is he gone?
The one time in history, man. We actually aren't joking.
All right, he's back.
Santi's rugging everyone right now.
All right, guys, listen. This is the less handsome and tall version of Santi making its way to stage right now. GM, everybody, thank you guys so much for joining us. The first town hall of 2025. I'm up here filibustering until Santi gets back, and then we'll kick off this town hall. But GM, everybody, I see everybody in here. I see Atlas Theory, Torrender, Info, Fire Knight, Drum Carlos, GM, everybody, GM. First town hall of 2025. You guys are not going to want to miss this whole town hall. It's going to be a long one. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely going to be a long one. But I think you guys are in for a treat. Talking about a whole bunch of good stuff. It's 7. It's not 7 p.m. It's 11 a.m. here. 11 a.m. here. Ghost Cat. Yeah, this is the first time you've been here on time. Crazy. Here for it. Nice. Even Ghost Cat. Yep, exactly.
Dom, can I just say, man, you make a beautiful bear. We've seen the images, we've seen the posts, we've seen the AI.
Oh my god, where's that image? I showed that image to my mom, and she it was not good.
There's one with you and Santi.
Dude, wait, let me find that. I have to find that now. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're having slight technical difficulties with Santi on Discord. We are figuring it out. I promise. Oh, Santi's on stage. Hello, Santi.
Hello.
Oh,
Now.
He's there.
Oh man.
Santi, you're saving me because I was about to tell a really bad dad joke.
Oh really?
Yes.
I was trying to hear that actually.
And we were gonna lose.
You've been saving that one for a while.
I have been saving that one for a while. All right, good luck. Have fun, everybody. Get excited.
Oh man, I'm scared of turning my camera on now in case I crash. But I'll try one more time. If not, I will just join from my phone. This PC, man. That's why I didn't compete in the Dyson Sphere, guys. It's not because of a skill issue. It's because of this. Let's see. Can you guys see me now? Am I
Wait,
still
we can't
here?
hear Santi. Can anyone hear Santi?
Nah. Don't do that. Look at the t-shirt that I'm rocking today. The Metaverse Nomads. They're back. The legends.
It's great to have them back, man. Part of history.
Part of history, for sure. But yeah, Michael, how are you feeling today, sir?
Feeling good, as always. We've got a huge update today for everyone, so stoked to jump in, stoked to get started, but things are going well, man.
Yeah, it's the first town hall since almost, or more than 6 months, actually. First town hall of 2025 as a whole. And Michael, we've been busy this year. We've been super busy. Like 3 UE5 releases. The team has been shipping like never before.
The velocity is probably the highest it's ever been on the team. Yeah, we got out 3 Unreal Engine releases. We rolled out fleet rentals in March. We've had a number of smaller iterative updates to Starbase. Those are just the things that people are seeing on the front end. What we'll be getting in today is obviously everything else that we've been working on behind the scenes. Again, it is action-packed and information-packed agenda today, but super proud of the team. I mean, it's incredible to just see the momentum that we're bringing right now in the face of what is really a pretty negative sentiment out there generally in gaming. You're seeing a lot of projects shut down and markets are just kind of flat and stalling. But for us, that doesn't really matter. You know, we've got our vision, we have our goals and our objectives, and we've just been diligently working through those and working towards those over the last 4.5 years now. So again, feeling really good about all of the progress we've made. Excited to share all of that with you guys. There's so much stuff behind the scenes that's been going on. Yeah.
We'll get right on it. Just so everyone knows, this is going to be information packed, as Michael was saying. I know I teased it on X and we've been saying it in the announcements as well, but pen and paper ready, guys, because we're sharing everything about C4, everything the team knows so far. Literally, we're being completely open today, but don't stress out. We got you. We will also be publishing a town hall summary, a written town hall summary article, so you guys can read everything that we go through later. So pen and paper, but don't stress out. We got you. We got you. Then also another thing is, if you don't really understand English, or English is not your native language, don't worry. If you go to the top of the Discord server, there are events. And in this week and next week, we're going to have brews in French, German, Italian, Turkish, Spanish, and Portuguese to break down everything that we're talking about today. So you can, if you don't really understand English and it's not your native language, you can find your community in Star Atlas, go to the top of the server, pick your language, and there will be a brew in your specific language with the community leaders explaining everything we're about to talk here. So don't worry, we got you. Also, be careful posting GIFs in the chat if you're not level 3. There's a permissions issue that if you're not level 3 and you post a GIF, you may get banned. So be careful with the GIFs. Make sure you're level 3 before posting anything. I saw a couple.
Is that a feature or is that a bug?
It's a bug. We don't want that to happen, but we have like many security layers. So yeah, it happens. We'll play it as a feature. But yeah, one last thing is that we are also live streaming on X. So I don't know, Dom, if you have the link, but if you have the link and can post it in the chat, you can go retweet our live stream on X and comment, and we'll be giving away a Fimble lobby for someone who comments and retweets the X link that Dom just shared in the chat. So go do that now. You have a chance to win a Fimble lobby if you go retweet and comment. And I see Kepler in the chat saying that he's actually translating to Spanish live right now. So if you speak Spanish and you want to get the news live, KeplerNet will be live streaming literally right now. He's live. So make sure to tune into his stream. But with that said, I think we can get straight to business, Michael. This is likely a 2-hour plus town hall. We also have Danny on stage. So first topic, something everyone wants to know more about. We'll be straight into business. We'll be talking about C4. So Michael, do you want to give a brief introduction for people who may be joining on X or who are not in touch daily with the Stratus community on what is C4 and what we're doing with that product?
I do, but before actually getting into business, and this will be a long town hall, but I want to mention we have a couple of great guests with us today. They'll be doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. You mentioned Danny already, co-founder, chief product officer. We have Brett, VP of engineering. We have Chip, VP of game. Jose, John Reeve. They're all going to be joining us to share do some screen share of various products, things that we'll be talking about over the course of the day. I think we're going to keep a little mystery in the actual agenda itself, right? I mean, we know we're getting into C4 first, but we won't be sharing too much about what's coming later. I do recommend everybody stays until the end because we great content throughout. I just want to start with one comment, which is really just goals and objectives that we had over the course of this year. And A lot of the planning and items that we're executing on now were formulated back in Q4 of last year, following Breakpoint and the Impact Summit. We pulled leadership together for a retreat over in Singapore, and we started putting some consideration into what would, what does a solid 2025 look like for us? What do we want to build? What do we think is going to have the largest impact, and what are the timelines around those things? Now we've pulled back heavily on sharing any types of dates. It's kind of bittersweet. I personally love sharing information about what our projections are. That has come back to bite us in times past, and so our philosophy has largely just been, you know what, let's just build in the shadows, and when it's ready, we're just going to roll it out. We haven't been hyping things up much, and I think that that's actually the appropriate approach. It's not about building hype, it's about execution and quality of the products that are being released. And I think beyond that, just the pace that the team is moving. We mentioned the Unreal Engine patches over the course of this year, rolling out products like fleet rentals, which I think has significant impact, especially over the long term, to satisfy a lot of different user demographics. This is new player acquisition, lower barrier to entry, as well as catering to an investor mentality. People that might not have any interest in actually playing in Star Atlas, but see the potential in investing in capital assets that have cash flow or revenue generating potential. And they see this market, which I might add has proven to have significant demand. In fact, demand right now on fleet rentals significantly outpaces the supply that's available. And we're seeing that in the data with, I don't have the latest numbers, but the number that I am familiar with is more than 80% of all of the fleets that get listed on the fleet rental platform are being rented out. I think there's a strong case that could be made that the remaining 20% are simply mispriced, perhaps overpriced. And we're seeing 1.2 million Atlas per day change hands on a pure peer-to-peer basis. That's users that are paying to rent these fleets out and use them within Sage. That's extremely powerful. A big shout out to Anthony, by the way. He's here in the audience. I see him, and it was Groove and Anthony from Sly, alongside a couple of additional partners that really built out the fleet rental platform and worked with us on security and auditing analysis, and then implementation into Portal, or that play.staratlas.com platform. So that was a lot, actually, just on fleet rentals, but I am really excited about the potential for this feature and this product on the platform and seeing where it goes in the future. But generally speaking, our philosophy over the course of this year was really about simplifying user onboarding, creating great experiences, and reducing the barrier to entry overall, as well as elevating all of the products that we have available today to create deeply engaging, deeply immersive, really fun experiences. And I think we've already succeeded in that with some of the Unreal Engine releases. What we'll get in today with C4 and beyond, I think will kind of confirm that approach is successful. And we did, in Q4 of last year, we did make the strategic decision. We're going to extend the timeline a little bit on the release so that we can incorporate more features. And with that said, I think that's probably a nice segue into C4. Now, for anyone who, to Santi's point, has not been following along with us closely, C4 is just a project name. That's internal working title that describes the next major update to our Sage Star Atlas Golden Era product suite. Now, Sage today exists largely in browser. It's 2D RTS MMO, and the Starbase release is centered largely on collective effort of factions to upgrade Starbases with some other earnings avenues in the game. Now, we do have some early stage of Fleet Command, which is the fully immersive 3D version of the Sage feature set that lives inside Unreal Engine. Now, C4 is the expansion of this. It's council rank, so that is your progression, XP, and skill tree system. It's claim stakes and cultivation claims. you'll see the deprecation of faction claims in Portal and the transition of full claim state construction, build out, and development within SAGE itself. And we'll be introducing cultivation claims alongside the release. It is crafting Habs, which is a way that players can leverage the crafting benches and crafting Habs that they've acquired through owning CSS land plots and be able to operate those in a very similar fashion to how claim stakes work, but operating directly off of Starbases. And then the big one that a lot of people have been begging for a long time, and that's combat systems. And a lot of thought has gone into this. I think it's incredibly important that we execute combat in a way that creates a fun and rewarding experience and not a punishing experience. And so the team has done a tremendous job designing this out, laying out the regions, laying out territories. But this is going to open up the door for people to capture enemy territory across factions. And I can't wait to see the space battles that take place as we get into the C4 release. There's a lot more here, but we do have a phenomenal couple of guests with us here. Santi, let me turn it back over to you, maybe to bring them up and kick this off.
For sure. Just to piggyback from what you were saying, Michael, it can also be said that C4 is likely one of the, if not the biggest real game economy ever created. And that also we are doubling down on blockchain tech at the same time. Well, you see like the Web3 gaming market and some people just getting out of it, some projects getting out of the market. Star Atlas believes in blockchain tech and in fact is doubling down on blockchain tech, leveraging it for C4. But we can get into the topic so people really understand what we're building here.
Since you mentioned it, I do just want to elaborate on that. It's a bold statement, but I would go so far as to say there is not a single team that embraces blockchain tech with the integration of gaming to the extent that we do. And I would argue we're an order of magnitude beyond the next closest team that looks at integrating crypto and blockchain into any of the products that we're releasing. So yes, we've absolutely doubled down on that. That has been our ethos. That has been our philosophy from the beginning. We've seen the benefits of ecosystem expansion from different groups and different teams and developers building out their own tooling that are of incredible benefit to our own community. Santi, we didn't mention it. We don't have much to talk about on it today, but the DAO has been absolutely
on fire,
chugging along. We had another, the second council election and 5 council members that got brought in earlier this year. And I think we're on, I should have checked this actually, but I think we're on PIP 17 or 18 right now.
PIP 17, I believe. Yeah, with 18 coming.
So, and the DAO and the council are achieving exactly what we would want to see right now, which is a relatively restricted set of objectives and authority, but that is to take advantage of this financial mechanic that we've built into kind of our overall corporate structure, which is the DAO is able to capture revenue via taxation off of game systems. And that taxation is largely driven right now through SAGE and supplemented by a share of the marketplace fees that are going to the DAO as well. But taking advantage of this treasury and of this ecosystem fund to support those developers and creators and other people that are building alongside us here financially via PIPs and distribution of funds to them. So all of that's been going on as well, and fortunately is working largely autonomously, which is what you would expect and hope for out of a DAO.
For sure. For sure. So yeah, if you're a builder or trying to build something in Star Atlas, don't hesitate to reach out to a council member and they will help you prepare a policy improvement proposal so you can leverage the ecosystem fund and start building using the Star Atlas tools, programs, and IP. So yeah, I like that you mentioned that, Michael. Okay, is everyone ready? Do you guys have your drinks next to you, some snacks? Is everyone ready? I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable and feeling good before we get on the main topics for today.
I'm sorry,
They're
one
all
more thing,
ready.
Monty. One
Yeah,
more
for
thing.
sure.
Just one more thing. Uh, somebody out there did place a bet that we wouldn't clear 100 attendees in this town hall. And I just want to proudly point out we have 302 people in the audience in the depths of the bear market right now. So I think
And
that
on X as well.
someone's going to need to pay out on that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we can get started. We have two wonderful guests on stage. I'll be introducing them right now. First, Danny Floyd, CPO at Star Atlas. Danny, how are you doing, man?
Santi, doing well. Apologies in advance. I'm currently at an Airbnb in Greece, so the connection might be up and down. Just heads up. But yeah, if things
All
start
good.
going bad, just interrupt me. Um, but yeah,
Sounds good,
doing good,
man.
man.
I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you joining the town hall. Guys, Danny has some pretty cool things prepared for us. We'll be turning the cameras off just because of stream bandwidth, and we'll be screen sharing some of the things. Also, so you guys don't make any more gifs of us. So, yeah, we appreciate that. I'm joking. We love those. And then we have also Brett on stage. Brett, my friend, how are you doing?
Doing well. Looking forward to this. Something we've been working on for a while, so really excited to share it.
Yes, we haven't been sharing anything about C4, and you know how hard that was on Michael, guys. He didn't share, but he was sharing something here and there, but we never really got into the real details for C4, and that's what we're going to be doing now. So I know Brett, you and Danny have some things prepared for us. I don't know if you want to give a brief intro from your end, Brett, Danny, on C4, and then we can get on the specifics.
Yeah, we can kind of kick this off by just saying what C4 means.
That's my connection.
Oh.
Yes, we can hear you. I think you may have a little bit of delay, but we can hear you.
All right, sorry. Yeah, big delay. Yeah, so just wanted to kind of give a quick prep on this, what we're about to share. But C4, if anyone doesn't know, is kind of finally where SAGE Labs turns into a full 4X game. And what that means is, well, 4X game, like in space games, it's exploration, which we kind of already have, but we're gonna have some more things with scanning and the amount of systems that the map is turning into. Expansion, which also we kind of have, but we're just turning it up like orders of magnitude more with the claim stakes and the Habs, and then exploitation, which is again with the claim stakes, being able to like exploit the resources, crafting, and you'll see the crafting. It's again gone up order of magnitudes. And then the biggest one is extermination, which is the combat system. So C4 is meant to turn SAGE into 4X. And we'll kind of get into that and see a little bit behind the curtain. I don't know, Brett, if you wanted to mention anything before we hop in.
Now the big thing is why call it C4? It's just the big items here are claim stakes, crafting Habs, combat, and council rank. So 4 big C's that we're going to be releasing all together.
Nice. Nice. I think that was a perfect intro. And I know you guys have some map updates that we teased a little bit before we shared a little sneak peek with the community. But I think that will be a great starting point if you guys want on what is changing from the current Sage map.
Yeah. Danny, you want to show that up?
Yeah, I'll pull that up. I want to give a little bit of a primer here too. Let's see. Here we go. So as we saw, it's already kind of out there that the map has just gotten much, much bigger. And before, in Sage Labs and even Starbase, tooling wasn't available to us as accessible as it is now. With AI now, tooling is trivial. So we're taking full advantage of that. Like before, we'd had to use Google Sheets, and it quickly would even make the Google Sheets slow down with so much data and all these like custom formulas that are everywhere. It would actually start hitting like performance issues in Google Sheets. So with this new C4 effort, we just wanted to scale up insanely. And so one of the things I've been doing is creating tools to help that. And it's similar to like, as an artist, if you're making a character or something, you want to see what it looks like in the game, right? So you make the character, you put it in the game, you run around with it, test, does the silhouette look good? Does it read? How does it feel from a gamer's perspective? And so this is kind of what the tools are great for. It's hard to get that sense when you're just looking at a spreadsheet, and you try to make it look as close as possible. But instead, having these custom tools, which would take weeks or months to get to this level of fidelity, just to start spitting out content, now AI assistance coding, you can do it in a couple days with one person. And then you have a full editor, and you're spitting out like actual content that goes directly into the game. And it's just a nice clean pipeline. So, I've been kind of showing these tools to the team as we give updates, and they thought it was a good idea to maybe show the community as well and get a nice peek behind the curtain. So that's where this whole Sage editor suite kind of came in. And again, this landing page took an hour to put together to tie the tools together. So we're using this to our benefit for Star Atlas and output, because the amount of output now that we're seeing with the amount of new systems and resources, I don't know if a tiny team like this could even manage. I don't even know if it's possible for a brain to put all that in your head. So we need these systems. So anyway, hop into the map. I mean, that's kind of like the coolest, biggest.
Sorry to interrupt you, Danny. Just a clarification for the audience. This is not the Sage C4 UI, but we're showing you guys a sneak peek behind the curtains on how the editor tools look like. This is not the UI that you will see with C4.
Exactly right. Yeah, this is just behind the scenes raw development tools. Not a lot of care into like the looks, just enough to get the right impression, or any of us on the team to quickly make edits, and to see what it looks like just from top down. So we have this map editor tool, and I'll load in the map. It's a little bit crazy, but let me just turn off some of these filters. So the biggest thing, obviously, is the amount of systems. So every dot here is now a new system. And we're breaking them into regions. So the difference, you go from 51 systems to now 69 regions. So you kind of can think of regions the same way as systems now in the current map. And we'll get into more details later, but you can see how we're kind of setting it up. And I was able to manually place all these systems and then check to see if system counts match up, and we have a nice even distribution between the different factions. But the point is also to not with combat and the way the systems are coming out, most of them will be neutral from the start. So there's going to be plenty of place to go and find and take over new territory. And so another crazy thing is, and you saw all those labels when I first dropped it, but those are all the new resources. So if I were to zoom in, starting to lag now with the so much things, and we turn off this. So like I said, there's all these tools now we can just throw in there. Like I even have a heat map checker, so you can see certain, like say if I wanted to see a heat map of hydrogen, you could see it getting hot in the middle. So one of the things we wanted to do was the very outskirts where the safe zones are will have low richness. And then as you get closer to the middle, to 0, 0, we'll have high richness. And so I'm working with Chris, and we're talking about how to distribute things. But the point is to let people want to come in and take over territories with different richnesses and collide in the middle with combat. Becomes very interesting, to want to do that. So anyway, if I zoom in, like say here, you can kind of see the amount of new resources that are. This is I don't think this is all of them. This is in the final list. We're tailoring it every day. So yeah, things will update and change. Linked together with these new things, these warp lanes, and then core systems comes into the combat and owning a territory. So we'll get into all that, but I just kind of wanted to throw a quick overview of like the new map that we're working with, and the stats are crazy. Let me pull that up. So we got 945 total systems. Like I said, I evenly distributed it between the different factions as if we were, taking the current map and swapping it over. 3,656 total planets, stars, and everything. Like there's a bunch of stats. Again, the great thing about AI is it's automating a lot of this stuff. And there's even some binary systems. And if you're lucky, you can find a trinary system. Let me see. No trinaries right now. Anyway, I'll let Brett take over and stop streaming for now.
Well, we can keep that up if you can, just to give people a reference as well. Just be able to point it. But yeah, so a couple of big things there that you may have noticed. So starting to get into more of the mechanics of how all of this is working. So there's no longer what we called sectors, where like currently in SAGE there's a big grid, right, on the map that and your ship is like in a grid square where it's moving. Now we're basically going to a decimal point number system, and it's 64-bit. If you look at the numbers on out, that means there's enough points basically across the entire real world galaxy for us to differentiate each ship by a nanometer. 64-bit numbers are crazy. So we can basically increase the density of the galaxy infinitely now just by increasing by putting more things in between, slowing ships down. Like you can make the galaxy feel bigger. So we've got a ton more variation there. That also means ships no longer interact like within the same sector. They have a range of interaction. We call the interaction range. That'll come up more with combat later on. So a couple of those numbers there that Danny was saying, like all the 69 regions, all the systems, planets, like multiple different types of planets all over the place. Danny, could you pull up the like region map again, just to show off?
I know what you're going to
how that's
mention,
working.
Brett. Are we going to tell people how they can own a region?
Yes, we are.
This is important. Pay attention.
It's loading.
Yeah, here we go. Just a bit laggy. Let me see.
Still loading a little bit. But yeah, so a little bit of preface here then.
Can you see this?
Still loading on mine.
Still.
Up there it goes.
Oh, now it works.
Yep. So you'll notice that all the systems are organized into regions. The region owned.
Sorry, guys.
So each system has a singular starbase basically on it. You can conquer each one of those starbases through the combat system, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But the biggest thing is how we kind of have border regions and safe regions. So the regions are connected together by those by the star paths there, warplanes. Forget what we're calling them now. So that kind of tells you what regions neighbor each other. So to own a region, you need to own all of the core systems. So all those little like castles that Danny has here, those are the core systems. Those are the ones you want to protect, the ones you want to build up, right? If somebody comes in and conquers those systems, they can steal your region from you, right? So owning the whole region, what that does is it allows you to make regions behind it safe. So the rules are a region is a border region if it has any neighboring regions that are not owned by you, or if there's any systems inside of it that are owned by an opposing faction as well. So the advantages of having a safe region are that the enemies cannot enter those regions. They cannot attack. They can't come in and try and mine their asteroids. They can't do anything, right? So you're gonna have these kind of like safe regions that can become border regions again as they start conquering closer and closer to you. So you get that option of, do you want to participate in that PvP or not, right? I'll let Danny talk about it any more than if he wants to, but like kind of the logic behind it.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the coolest thing is, first off, you have every faction has their 5 stars, which are permanently safe. And then, as you move out, you have the option to expand that safe region, essentially. As long as you have these like border lines or front lines that are also owned completely, then you essentially expand this as like an entire safe region. And just what I've been jokingly called a cul-de-sac is safe. All you have to do is own that one, and then this one's completely safe, just as an easy way to understand it. So yeah, that's going to be a nice, because then you can just send out things and fleets without having to worry about like security escorts and stuff like that. So
yeah, it strikes a nice balance between there is still options for people to attack. So it's not just like the first few star bases that you can attack. You can still have tactical, like if there's a border there, you can go around and attack the back of their region, right? So you can still have these tactical plays going around and still be able to like cut off supplies to the very front lines. But it also allows players to kind of feel safe by staying in the safe regions for having their assets still productive out there. But of course, the borders are going to be where the richest resources are. So you're going to want to go out there and take the risk, right? Protect your assets, conquer, all of that. So lots of trade-offs there that you get to play around with and coordinate with your faction on. So mentioned before, we have the warp lanes now. So the biggest movement changes. So like now that we have a decimal point system on the map, you can click anywhere on the map and go there, right? Down to effectively nanometer scale on the map. You're not going to care that much about going that far. But now we have warp lanes as a third type of movement. So we still have subwarp, fuel efficient, very slow. And the other part about that is you can be attacked while you're subwarping if you're in a region, in an area. We still have warping. We've added a warp spool at the beginning. So basically your ship stays idle for a little bit, then goes into warp and then arrives, right? So, and then there's a warp cooldown as well. The warp spool is basically you can't just warp to get out of an attack range. They can still attack you while you're warp spooling. So you got to be careful there. And then there's the warp lanes. So the warp lanes, you have to own both ends, both star bases on both ends of it. But then they just charge you an atlas fee to travel on the warp lane rather than you having to spend fuel. So it's kind of the highways of the galaxy. So, and it's also the great beachheads, right? So if you're attacking a sector, you want to take the warp lane on the other side so your ships can get in there much more easily.
Mm-hmm. But there was a question, Brett, on it, and it was if you can only travel through warp lanes or you can get anywhere however you want, basically, like just traveling there.
Yeah, so you can still travel anywhere you want using subwarp, warp. Like if you're trying to go from like say that orange one to the green one over there that I'm looking at, you don't own the warplane on the other side yet. So you need to go take the warplane on the other side to be able to actually, or take the starbase on the other side to be able to activate that, right? So you do have to travel across the void there and can be attacked while you're in there. All of that can still happen, right? And it's the trade-off, right? You spend Atlas to pay for the warplanes and they're faster versus spending fuel to warp or subwarp yourself, right? So there's a bunch of options there that you get to pick.
Nice.
I also saw another question about, is this in Solana code yet? Yeah, it is. We've got the map is done. We're still working on some other parts of it for C4, but yeah, the map part is done. The movement, it's actually was relatively easy to convert over. So.
And I just want to make a quick comment on the warplane fees. Those will be consistent with the rest of the systems of taxation within SAGE, which is to say that any of the revenue collected via warplane or Starpath fees will go directly to the DAO as well.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, yeah, other things on the map. May have noticed all of these resources. So updated numbers, most recent numbers, still subject to change. 86 different raw resources, 229 intermediate components, and 145 ingredients are currently what we're looking at on the map. So those raw resources are spread across the map everywhere. Then everything else is going to be craftable. So, of course, subject to change. They're changing it a lot depending on what new things need to be supported and all of that. Another big thing that I think everybody will be happy about, Starbase upkeep, no longer a thing. Neither toolkits nor food. So that's all going to be handled in other ways. No more, no more just everybody having to pay food or follow the whales around and paying food there.
Nice. Nice. I think that covers most for when it comes to the map, Brett, right?
Yeah.
Are we missing anything?
I think that's the major things on here. Yeah, there's not going to be a high risk zone. We're not going to enable that just yet. Just want to mention that it's all going to be medium risk zone or low risk zone. So, yeah, maybe we'll turn it on eventually. But we have the ability to. It just won't be yet.
Yeah. But should we transition to combat? I think people want to learn about combat and how that will work.
Yeah, so we can start out with a little bit of just some of the details about how combat works. So it's not going to be like tactical type of battles or like flying around, ships flying over each other. It's going to be rather simplified to start out here, just to kind of get us started and make it easier for development. Like we want to get this actually out at some point, right? So the combat's going to be what we call atomic. The idea being you basically, a ship chooses a target to attack, they attack instantly, and the results are calculated there. It results not meaning like one ship will always die and like we're going to run 50 attacks in that instant. It's like ships will take damage, maybe one of them dies, maybe both of them die, right? But it's going to be a ship chooses another ship or ship chooses a starbase to attack, right? So that's how that works. There's going to be loot. So when you blow up a ship, their cargo pod will drop. So all of their cargo items, and you'll be able to take a portion of those items. Some of them will get burned, of course, but you'll get a portion of those items, and salvage ships will be able to get more of those items. So there's a very good reason to have salvage ships, right? So there's also for all of this, there's an action range. So now that we are on a floating point system, like before, how you would do it is basically say, okay, if you're in the same square, you're allowed to attack anybody else in the same square. Now what it is there's a global action range or interaction range, whatever you want to call it there. But that global range, you can kind of think of it right now as 0.5 AU, which is the one square is 1 AU. So basically, if you draw a circle around that, anything within that range of your ship, you can interact with, and everybody has the same one, so there's not like ranging with each other. Like one ship doesn't have higher range and it's just kiting. Like that gets a little complicated on chain, so we just want to avoid that completely. So as long as you're within that range, you can attack, you can loot, and you can repair as well. Repair ships can also actively repair allied ships and starbases. So, yeah.
Nice.
So another system that's I'm not going to go too far into details because it's pretty complicated and like implications and everything, but basically there's an action point system that basically says how much can you attack? Are you reloading? If you loot something, basically your weapons get reset. So like you have to take that trade-off of you'll be vulnerable if you try to loot something, but so you need to clear out other enemies around you. Also forgot to mention it, like loot will be locked to the last hitter. So if you are the one that kills the ship, you get the loot locked to yourself for at least a period, and then it'll be open season for that. But there's the AP system that it also plays into preventing like large ships aren't going to be just blasting small ships, but if small ships blast a large ship, it'll be able to defend itself. That sort of thing. So you can kind of think of it more as just like there's an energy bar. It gets spent up if you repair or loot, and it gets partially spent if you attack or defend. Another part about this as well on the atomic combat, it doesn't really matter who starts the attack. Both ships will shoot back at each other, so there's not just a click fest and like whoever gets the click first, right? It's if both ships attack each other, will attack each other whenever you hit each other. So yeah, I think the next big thing is the ship configurator to kind of tell you about some of the stats that are being worked on. And
Man, I think the community is going to love this part, Brett.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah, this is where things get very interesting. You needed that combat preface to understand where this goes, but yeah.
Yeah, combat is kind of the next big tool. As you see, I have like a coming soon section. So I want to bring basically what we build in these tools leading up to the combat simulator. And you mentioned loot. So that's where we start. We start with loot because this is kind of the basis of everything. So I have this tool that I can easily list out every single individual component, in the size and tiers, and each one needs to be its own like individual item, right? And this was not. I couldn't use Notion. I couldn't use Google Sheets, so I just built this thing to handle this volume of data. And we ended up with about 3,900 items, and these are like all the crafts that were gonna be craftable in C4, and then I can export this out and use it in these other tools, and I'll show you how that works. So this on the back end too, we have like all the different items in a sheet, and that's referenced here in a conditional sort of format. So then I export it out of the loot matrix, and then I bring it into the ship configurator. Now, let me just load that up. So the ship config takes all that, components, modules, ship weapons, countermeasures, missiles, and this all goes towards configuring your ship. And each one of these components, is a positive or negative, and to a certain degree, the actual stats. And kind of show you how that looks like. So then I can take every ship and bring it into this comparison table. And here's a set of the stats. It's not totally final, like all the stats that go into what will eventually be the combat simulator. But a lot of these base stats are already live, and then we're, upgrading them with these configs. So right now, every ship just has like a configuration, and what that looks like is, say, okay, I'm on a Grenader, is these are all even Joseph. Uh-oh.
Oh, we're losing
Can
you
you
a
guys see
bit,
my
Danny.
screen?
We can still see the screen. We can still see the screen. Now we hear you. You can continue.
I just have really bad ping. It's like going into the theft. So what I'll do is I'll take a ship, I'll create a configuration, I actually load in the CSV from Notion, so it's the same information that we've already planned on, and then slot in weapons and countermeasures to match the ship. Let me know if I'm getting lost again. And so painstakingly went in, brought in all that data into this editor, and set these all up. And you can see in real time, if I were to change any of them, let's add a, let's see, not that the ship can support it, but the large kinetic, and then you'll see the kinetic energy or kinetic damage update in real time. So I'll go through that, and so this is basically a shopping list now, or a crafting list, that for this specific config, Calico Evac Tier 1 config, what you'll need to do is go through the crafting process or buy it on the secondary market, and get each one of these upgraded components. And a lot of people, already with those component bundles, you're going to get some of these, or at least, yeah, we'll do the airdrop. And then you'll be able to slot these in and activate this Tier 1 configuration. And so you get these upgraded stats if you apply that specific configuration. Now, I did the 1 through 5, and these are just like scaling up. So it's all the same items, and they're scaling up. And then what that looks like is we have a couple of scaling formulas that apply to class scale and then tier scale. And you can actually see that when you go into like, how is fuel capacity affected here? Oh, I got a fuel module. And here's the formula that actually, takes the base value that I input and then multiplies it by class and then multiplies it by tier. And then you're ended up with plus 244. And these aren't final stats. These aren't final values. So now that I've got everything imported and slotted in, now's where we go in and we do some compare. I also put together this these ship scores that show okay, how does it do on cargo compared to all the other ships, and how does it do on the support utility aspect, the mobility, combat, mining score, and then it shows you what stats and how awesome they are, and they're all weighted separately, goes towards giving you that score. And then I'll go through and take different classes of ships and compare these scores to each other. Also a bunch of analysis tools to make sure I'm so yeah, lots going on here. Again, it's a work in progress, but so the last thing I wanted to do here, well, two more things. Get all the stats between we got 61 ships. Get all the configs are working nicely and would be as expected. And then build a bunch more configs. So right now we have a bunch of different damage types. Or now we're able to turn on a bunch of different damage types. So with all the different weapons, we can turn on different damage types. And how I'm anticipating that's going to work is you have all these different damage types, but all these different counter types. And each type of damage has a counter. And so you do something like, and just to simplify, gray goo has a certain damage amount, and then the healing nanobots is the counter to gray goo. So if you have a countermeasure of healing nanobots and someone shoots some gray goo at you, then you're blocking it probably just 1-to-1. And then any remainder, and then your hull points. Something like that, just to understand basics of combat. So there's a lot more opportunity for us to dynamite sticks, whatever, just keep going, and make it a more interesting combat battlefield, basically. I want to do gray goo heavy config or something where you just slot in all the gray goo weapons, something like that. Or if you want to just, now you have this expanded safe zone region, so you just want to focus purely on mining, and you have here's the mining that just maximizes everything for, and then you go and you create that configuration, and then you get all these parts and you slot them in, and boom, now you're activating all these different configurations. And just for fun, let's look at the wait a second. I loaded all ships, and now it's lagging. Hang on. Let me remove them.
Danny,
All
people are
ships.
asking what happens with components if a ship is destroyed.
Okay. So I just wanted to show this is just funny to see the difference in weapon counts and types of weapons and countermeasures when you go all the way up to Titan. Anyway, so that's the fun part about all this crafting and components is permanent loss. Oh, not permanent, actually. Some of it will be dropped as loot, but you lose it. Yeah. So you're going to respawn without any of this. So that's the risk you take with the configs, and it sounds like a lot of pain, but you'll quickly realize how beneficial it is to have these slotted and upgraded. So you're going to want to do it, despite the risk of losing it.
Can I just jump in here for 1 second? I don't want to steal thunder, but man, I do want to emphasize the economic implications of this new system. All of these components are going to have recipes, and they will be purely craftable by players. So we do have the ship parts bundles. There's going to be a process to convert those into raw resources, which go into crafting these components. But ultimately, this is such a massive enhancement to the way that the player economy is going to work, because it's very conceivable that an individual player is not able to craft all of these underlying components that they want to equip on their assets. And then on top of this, when the war machine is rolling and you have combat and you have faction conflict, all of these components are just getting regularly destroyed, and there will be a requirement to rebuild, reconstruct those. And I'm just thinking about the way that that is going to enhance trade and drive peer-to-peer trade and revenue opportunities for players. Absolutely massive as a sink, and also as a new way for players to participate in the economy and pick up some revenue by servicing those that require these components. I also just want to take one moment here, Danny, and perhaps pull Brett in to talk a little bit about how the ship configuration system is going to work, because it's not necessarily full customizability right now. There are prefab configurations that people can target, and they will have to craft all of the underlying components. And then Brett, maybe you can jump in here. Once you craft the components, you essentially form a new asset with all of the components applied. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so as Michael was saying here, it's a bit complicated to do where you have every ship can be configured infinitely, right? That's eventually what's going to be happening, but to get C4 in a reasonable amount of time so that you guys can actually play it, it's going to be just the preset configs, where we're targeting about like 15 to 20 configs per ship. So as Danny was shown here, like you have tier 1 through 5. He's wanting to do some of the more specialist configs as well. So there could be configs like mining config for a ship that takes off the weapons, puts on drills or something like that, right? So there's going to be a bunch of preset configs, and we can add more over time if there's a lot of demand for certain ones, or if Santi wants to do some fun things. So those presets, basically what'll happen is we're not going to have like the configured ship as a token that blows up the marketplace like crazy. And we don't have that kind of NFT style right now. It would be an individual token per, and you basically have a separate market for each of 20 different ships. Like 20xing our ship market that would reduce the liquidity far too much. So what we're looking at here is that you still have the base ship token. When you add a ship to a fleet, you pick which config you want to add to that fleet, and it takes a certain amount of tokens depending on what you do. So let's say you have an X4 that takes 4 guns. It takes some more stuff too, but and you pick the configuration that has 4 guns on it. You need to have those 4 guns in your Starbase when you add it to the fleet, and then it's added to the fleet in that configuration. And each configuration has completely separate stats. They have full control on Danny's side of what each config does, from every single value that a ship can have, right? So at the moment you put your ship into the fleet, that's when you decide what config it is. When it comes out of the fleet, it comes out, when you disband the fleet, it comes out with the ship and the tokens that formed that ship. Should the fleet die from self-destruct or from hostile action, then the components will be burned and your fleet and your ships will respawn back at the CSS. So fleets no longer respawn, ships respawn, right? Also on the bundles, probably what's going to happen here is that the bundles are going to result in multiple sets of components, since they are a bit more usable now, to kind of keep in line with how we communicated the bundles, as this is enough components to outfit your ship, right? So either result in multiple there or higher level than, but we'll make that correct with how we communicated it when we originally launched the ship bundles.
I'll mention one additional consequence here of this extensive ship configuration is, particularly given we have these atomic combat systems, one of the concerns early on was that, big player, big fleet can just easily destroy small fleet. This configurability actually does make combat more dynamic, and it does make it feasible that if a player strategically configures a smaller fleet, and perhaps focuses on combat configuration versus a player that has a larger, or higher VWAP fleet, but is misconfigured for combat or defense, that smaller player can actually win this engagement. So it kind of evens the playing field to some extent in this mode.
Yeah, and there's also an element of randomness in here. So when that combat's happening, there will be some random rolls that occur. So it's not always, I know I'm going to win. Like there's some random chance that they get a critical hit, blow you up, or you get a critical hit, blow them up, or you have many ships attacking them. And there's a lot more strategy involved than just, is my stat block bigger? So yeah, I think we saw there, but it was like 3,900 components ish is what they currently have. So all of those are going to be craftable. All of those are new tokens basically in the game, and are going to take various resources across everything. So there's going to be some markets for that, and then building up all of those things.
Yeah, and then the next step from here for me, like I said, this was the editor to get all the stats together, and now I can export this out as another JSON that goes into the combat simulator. So without the editing capabilities and as much of the editing capabilities, then I can pit them against each other and see if it's balanced, and yeah, you can see the steps as they're leading to this big thing here. So cool.
Also want to be clear that the combat numbers are like the combat damage types and all those numbers. Those are the biggest influx items. Like we can do, since we're doing atomic combat, we can make it very complicated inside of that atomic equation. Like we can do a lot of different math as long as it's all solvable instantly. So there can be a number of changes that we can do very easily in there. So.
And I saw Chris make a comment in the chat, by the way, and we all know Chris is the most evil economist on the planet, but does some really incredible work for us. And there is a heavy weighting in LP loyalty points, which will still be a factor in the daily epoch emissions of Atlas out to players, but combat systems will be heavily weighted in LP, further encouraging those engagements. And also there's it's less rewarding to go attack smaller fleets than it is for a smaller fleet to destroy a larger fleet. So trying to maintain some balance there and avoid some griefing to the extent that that's possible with the blockade and region system.
Brett, I think it would be cool to talk about attacking a starbase and how that would
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, so fleets attack fleets. That's kind of a given here, but the next big thing is attacking a starbase, right? So that's actual territory conquest. Basically, it's What it is you just choose the starbase as another target. It pulls up a different equation because starbases are not the same as ships, right? Like bombers may have higher damage against starbases or ships, all that sort of thing. All goes into the combat equation that Danny's designing here. But starbases are basically just giant stat blocks, is the idea here. What happens is when you blow up, say, a tier 4 starbase, everybody's attacking that, the health gets down to 0, the starbase becomes tier 3. Right, so you can kind of think of it as a segmented health bar. So you knock a tier 4 down to tier 3 down to tier 2, tier 2 down to tier 1, and then 1 goes to 0. Tier 0, if you blow up a starbase and it becomes tier 0 after the attack, you conquer it, basically. So it becomes your starbase, your ships can dock there, you can do upgrades on it, you can do everything a starbase can do, everything that's at least available at that level of starbase in that system. So like local markets may not be available until a certain starbase level. So that's really the that's the main territory control aspect. The system itself is not owned until you upgrade that to level 1, so you do have to get it upgraded, right? If you blow up a tier 0, it becomes a tier 0 of yours. Yeah, I think that's the main things to have to do with there. So there's a lot of strategy involved of, do you attack the starbase and while the other ships are attacking you? Do you like come in and try to strike it real quick? Doing all of those sorts of actions. The other part about this is repair ships. So repair ships can target ships or starbases, and they choose to say, but that's basically what you do to repair. You can pay toolkits to repair a ship in space or repair a starbase. It adds to basically a pending pool. So if you've ever played, I think it's Diablo is a good example here, where you take a potion, it says, okay, your health's going to go up to here, but you heal at a rate. The same thing happens with the starbase and the ships. So it's not like an instant repair that you can just like dump a ton of repair on. It has to repair over time, but it has a repair value that it's going to go up to. So you can outdamage a starbase's possible repairs if you have enough ships, right? Or outdamage a fleet as well. Another cool part about this, if another faction is upgrading from tier 0 to tier 1 and you blow up the tier 0, you get a portion of that upgrade. So if they're like 99%, you blow them up, you might get 80, you conquer it and you have 80% upgrade progress. So it becomes a lot cheaper for you. Anything else
Brett,
here?
did you mention what happens when a starbase is basically when it changes hands to the resources that are in there?
Oh yeah. When the starbase changes hands, any resources that are within that starbase are burned. So local markets, crafting, any storage, all of that's burned. So I'm really looking forward to see the local market prices as the starbase is about to blow up. So see those ships that come in to try to get those super cheap prices and get out before they get blown up themselves, right? That's gonna be super cool to watch. So yeah, protect your
guys,
starbases.
Protect your starbase is not just for the resources on. I'm realizing here in our agenda, we don't actually have any coverage specifically of the implication of starbase tiers and the features that unlocks, and the benefits that a faction receives for having a leveled up starbase. I might also take an opportunity just to confirm here that any of the starbase upgrades that exist in Starbase within those regions, now the map is expanding as you guys have seen, but for any of those starbase upgrades that have taken place in Starbase, those will persist through into C4. So you will actually receive those benefits. Brett or Danny, can one of you guys maybe speak to just some of the benefits that you get by having a leveled up Starbase?
Yeah, so
Well, one of the things,
good.
Brett, just quick, one of the things I wanted to mention there is part of the owning a region is owning all the core systems. And I was actually talking with Funcracker just a little bit ago, but about the amount of systems, blooming insanely. What we're talking about, and this isn't totally final, but I think everyone's kind of aligned with this, is even within a region, there's a few core systems, but we want to make one, which I'm just calling a king system right now, and that's where the local market, only one local market for the entire region. and we're going to test it to see if that works. But the point is to not dilute to every single system, and every Starbase has its own local market. So you'll still want to stay within close contact with that one king system that is also a core system. And that's the one I'm thinking will also transfer over from current Starbases, and then you own that one. Of course, there's more regions per faction, so there's some totally neutral ones, but the ones that currently are there transfer over, and you'll get the king system with the local market. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, and this is all dynamic as well. It's going to be very easy for us to say we have an increase in number of players. We need more local markets because we're not too worried about liquidity anymore. We can create, we can add more local market systems, right? We can change a lot of this on the fly as well. So on the benefits of creating a Starbase, there's LP benefits. I think Chris is still hammering those numbers out. I don't want to step on him there because it's not finalized. But you do unlock the local markets, and you also unlock either a deferring fee on the warp lanes. So if you leave from a higher level Starbase, it's less expensive, and then you also get more claim stake and crafting hab plots as the Starbase levels up. And unlocking even more tiers as well. I believe, Danny, you had a few of those that were like 0 until they get a certain level, right? So there's quite a bit that you get by upgrading a Starbase.
Cool.
So
I think, Brett, this is. Well, I'll let you add that you were going to add, and
yeah.
then we can transition to the next C.
Yeah. You also get the higher stat block, right? So as you upgrade the Starbase, you get, okay, I've leveled from level 3 to level 4. Now you get the higher stat block. It's more defended, right? It's much harder to crack a larger Starbase.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I think it's a good transition into. We're only at the first C of C4, by the way, but we can go to claim stakes now and how that's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, next tool is claim stakes, and this one was done by Joseph. It's not fully done, but you can definitely see a lot of how it works. And like Brad was saying, you own the Starbase. Now you're unlocking plots across that system, plots across the whole region, I guess. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Starbase.
Yeah, system.
Yeah. It's within the system, and then you still have to own the region though to even start that. So yeah, this is kind of what it's going to be like. You have all these different planets, and these different claim stakes that unlock different things on different planets, and you can see like what resources are available, and like slots and tier and all that. And the types of buildings that can be built on that particular claim stake. So the simulator actually lets you play through it. So you purchase that claim stake, and then it starts producing. Again, we're still refining all these numbers and resources that are actually being extracted during this process. But nice to have a simulator where you can go in and build these out. Currently, if I wanted to build this, it would cost 50 steel and 25 electronics, but I don't have that. And that's what we have the feature that you can just like give yourself that so you can build it, but it's not currently in right now. So you can just kind of take a look at like what it produces, what it consumes, and then what it would cost to build, and the different upgrades as well. So there are a ton of buildings and a ton of things that can be crafted. And the biggest thing with claim stakes is the auto crafting. So as long as you're in a safe region, you can basically set it and forget it, and at a certain point becomes sustainable. But yeah, you're going to want to keep these safe because pretty destructive if you lose that starbase. Yeah, that's just kind of a quick overview. As you can see, the different things that would be producing for this particular claim stake, and then just kind of, at some point we do want to make this available so people can theory craft all the different things you can do. But we want to get everything nailed down. So there's a lot of craft recipes that are still in progress. So it's not ready to send out yet, unfortunately. Anything else you want to go over?
Probably worth mentioning here. And Chris, you're out there in the audience. If you feel free to jump up on stage if you'd like to comment on any of these, any of the economic design elements. But worth noting that if a starbase and region is captured, any of the claim stakes within that region are effectively destroyed as well. Now, all of the buildings and structures that you place on the claim stake will be destroyed. The claim stakes themselves will be returned to, Brett, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but go back to the CSS. So you do not lose your claim stake, but any of the effort and resources that you put into constructing that claim stake will be destroyed.
Yes, that's correct. CSS.
So even more reason to protect regions and protect starbases, because it's very likely that you have logistical operations established using claim stakes, and if that region is gone, that whole operation is gone as well.
Yeah, there's also ways you can lose even on a down level, because basically each planet has a table of starbase level versus claim stake tier of how many slots are available, and assuming increase, right? So if a tier 1 has 100 and a tier 2 has 200, if you're the number 102 and you're or not tier 2, sorry, a level 2 starbase has 200. If you're number 102 and the starbase goes from level 2 to level 1, then your claim stake is lost, and that will return to the local starbase. It'll respawn at the CSS if it's completely lost.
Yeah, thank you. And then, so on top of that, there are, now the claim stakes also give you an option to, Danny, I might have missed it if you covered this, but it's not only extracting resources, but you can have structures that auto craft various outputs. Now, not everything, you will still need to go to Starbases to craft certain components. But
that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll have automation of crafting. Now, with that crafting, you don't have to pay crafting fees because you own the claim stake itself. You're not using the Starbase facility, so therefore you avoid that 7% fee. However, your claim stakes are subject to varying degrees of rent that you'll have to pay periodically. The rent is a function of the tier of the claim stake itself, as well as the tier of the Starbase that it's operating within. Anything you want to add to that, Brett?
Yeah, I could just start going down my list of all the mechanics here as well, because you're jumping on me. But no,
I'm just so excited.
yeah. So I'll just kind of go down this list here. But the claim stakes, you put them on planets, right? So claim stakes go on planets. They're player-owned extraction and production facilities. So there's a bunch of different mining drills that can mine resources from the planets depending on the planet's richness, right? So planet, as we saw earlier, could have like Krypton or Rocanol richness, and you build an extractor on that, it'll get multiplied by that richness basically. So that 15 per second that Danny's showing there, that if the planet has 2 richness, it would get 30 per second, for example. Or if it has 0.5 richness, it would have 7.5 per second. So, and then you have production, which there's kind of 2 different outputs. There's extractive output and then just normal output. So if you have like a farm that would just have normal output of food or something like that. And then you can also have a negative input where like a power generator maybe needs to take fuel or something. So you kind of build up this balancing of all of your different stats. Anything that you're negative on, you need to supply the claim stake with by sending your ships down to supply things too. So like if he needs to take fuel to power it, then you need to supply some fuel. Or there where he has consumes, if it takes 10 electromagnets and you're not locally producing those, then you need to deliver those to the claim stake, right, for it to keep functioning. So there's there's a ton of different resource in and outputs there. So there's a bunch of different stats as well that are not just resources. So there's power. You need to have certain buildings consume power, certain buildings produce power. You need to stay positive or zero power, right? Net neutral. So either building like solar farms or power generators or whatever else that take up a certain number of slots on the claim stake. The buildings take slots, and you're depending on the size of your claim stake, you only have so many building slots, right? So like a solar panel may produce some power for free, but it takes more space than a gas generator or something like that. Then there's also crew number. So like your crew need places to live, so you got to build barracks, but also some things then take crew, or maybe there's a low crew variant of a building that is a little less efficient but takes no crew. Like there's a whole bunch of different trade-offs you're able to take in here. And they're, to be clear, I'm not saying what we're going to be launching with, that's more on Danny's side of like what the designs are, but these are all things that can be done and can be added later as well. So the other part, so when you place your claim stake, you put your claim stake, you claim that spot, and that's like the initial point. You have no buildings on it, it's not really doing anything. Then you go into the design phase where you can design, add in buildings, subtract buildings, all of that, and you can redesign at any time. It takes some time for it to construct before it starts producing, depending on how many changes you're making. But you can swap in buildings, swap out, trade out for things, add more storage so it can store more before it has to be picked up or delivered, right? There's a ton of different options you have there. It's meant to be like something you could spend a lot of time on, designing out the perfect claim stake for all these things, especially on the tier 5s. Like there's going to be a ton of building slots on those that there's a ton of different ways you could design these out. And suddenly we release a new release that has more buildings, and now you got to redo all that work. It's going to be great.
Brett, can I just interrupt you for 1 second? I actually saw a comment from Santi, and I do think it's pretty important because there might be some impulse behavior taking place. We're going to mention this at the end of claim stakes, but there was a question on whether or not that you can craft claim stakes. No, you will not be able to craft claim stakes. We're also not going to allow you to upgrade the tier of a claim stake. Of course, you can select the various tiers of buildings and structures that you place on there, but they will be confined to the amount of slots available. But I just want to mention here, we are going to list and sell another tranche of claim stakes as we approach the release of C4. More on that release strategy later, but the recommendation is not to go out and purchase claim stakes at a premium right now, because we will be introducing more inventory later. So that's a fair warning. Again, don't go purchase above origination price. We'll have another sale at some point in the not too distant future. Back to you.
Yeah. So what do you do with all the resources and all the consumptions? As I said, your fleets have to go there. Fleets are going to basically be nursing these claim stakes to deliver and take resources back. And as these fleets are delivering things, if you're not in a safe zone, you can be blown up, right? So there's cargo ships that are picking up and delivering from claim stakes. You can blow them up. Attack-wise, though, you can't directly attack a claim stake. The real way to attack a claim stake is down leveling the starbase, and that will kick the claim stake out, right? So, yeah. So the other part to talk about here is rent. So by having your claim stake on the planet, you will be having to pay rent to the DAO. The rent is based on as Michael was saying, the tier and of the claim stake and the level of the starbase. Each planet has a differing rent value. Like based on that table, each planet can have a unique table. So you'll have to look at the specific planets and evaluate for yourself what the best place to put your claim stake is. If you run out of rent, basically you're kind of supplying a bank of rent. If you run out of rent, you have a grace period. Haven't decided how long that is yet, but there will be a grace period where your claim stake is not producing or actively working, but you still hold the slot and you're not immediately evicted, right? But if you have not paid your rent by the time the claim stake, but if you haven't paid your rent by the time your grace period's over, you can be evicted by someone else trying to take your spot. So the planets do have limited spots, right? So you got to pay for your spot. I think that's all the major things on claim stakes. Were there any other major questions, Santi, that I missed?
I think you covered pretty much everything, Brett. There's a lot. Just so people know, next week at the brew on Wednesday, we'll have you, Brett, formally inviting you to the stage. So we will cover C4 at that brew. And honestly, I think Bob just tagged me. Yeah, we'll need a couple brews just to go over everything C4. But don't
Yep.
worry, like we'll have team members joining the brews and replying to questions from you guys. So
Yeah, I did see one about ship mining. Ship mining is still a thing. There are asteroids. This is another way to mine. I believe that the design is calling for like ship mining to be reduced quite a bit. Fighters now have other things to do besides mining. So there is still asteroids out there. The other thing now is that you can mine asteroids at hostile areas if you can access them. That's up to you. You can take that risk. So
cool. All right, we're at the second C now, so we can keep moving, Brett. If you want, we can get on crafting hubs now.
yeah, crafting apps are very similar to claim stakes. They have the very similar building system, very similar rent system. They're just on a starbase level. So you build crafting habs on starbases instead of on planets, like you do with claim stakes. And instead of extracting, they have crafting effects that allow you that adjust your crafting capabilities. So it's still the same slot system. It's just per starbase. It's still the same rent system, just on starbase. And instead of extraction, also there's no power because the starbase provides the power, so you don't have to worry about power generation. The main effect of a crafting hab is when you go in to choose a craft, you can choose a crafting hab to use on that craft. So crafting habs can affect things like efficiency, crew required, new recipes, fee reductions, things like that. So the real stats that you have to adjust are all of those things, as well as capacity for the crafting hab. So a crafting hab can only affect so many jobs at the same time, right? So if you're crafting, so you need to build more storage. So you got to do that trade-off of if you have a big crafting hab, you add more. You can add more storage or add more effects, right? And which one do you want? So you have a big trade-off there. And some effects may be negative, right? Like they go in both directions. So you may take one negative effect in exchange for another effect, right? It also can unlock new recipes. You may require certain buildings to even build a recipe. Like if there's a special recipe that allows you to turn iron ore into copper plates, something like that, you have to have the alchemist building or something, right? So the recipes can be unlocked by certain buildings on crafting habs. Other than that, it's very similar to claim stakes. So it's has much more effect than we're spending time on here by changing up crafting. Crafting itself is like wildly different now with how many recipes there are and how much effects you can get out of just certain crafting facilities. So
Okay. Did we cover everything there? That was a speed run for crafting house.
yeah, they share a lot of stuff. They share a lot of code too, which is also very nice.
Nice. Okay, we're moving. And you guys are missing one last C, which is council rank. And we can get on council rank right now.
Yeah, so council rank also encompasses research nodes. That's what Danny has here of a to be designed. It's still in the design process, but council rank is kind of now the entire progression system for the game. So we've talked about it before being like okay, you need a certain rank to fly certain ships and all of that sort of thing. It's also applying to basically unlock everything across the game now. So you earn XP in different categories like we have now. There's more categories that are also going to be showing up, such as like mining and building. I think mining's already a thing. Building and combat combat was pilot. I forget. There's some other categories that are coming in with it. You also earn renown, which is your overall council rank here. So that and all of these points can be spent to unlock new research nodes. So research nodes can have dependencies on each other. They can cost resources. They can cost renown or XP to be researched, and they can unlock all of these things. So like buildings will be behind research nodes. Ship configs will be behind research nodes. Different tiers of claim stake. You need to get to certain research node levels. Ship size can be behind research nodes. ship, like how big of a ship you can pilot. So piloting skill is behind research nodes. How many fleets you can have on a single account, that's behind a research node. All of these can be unlocked. Do want to cover that all the XP you are getting, it will you will have access to a majority of your stuff if you've been playing for a long time. So don't worry too much there about starting out.
Yeah, well, Chris specifically and Gareth are working through the mapping of XP, but I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's important to emphasize people who are OGs who have been playing Sage for since the beginning or even recently. Any of the XP that you get now, both on the kind of global level as well as on the individual sub license level, will carry over. The goal is to structure that in a way so that players who have been actively engaged in pre-leveling do get the benefit of that, and in most cases should be able to bring most of their assets into the game. We don't want to punish people that have been playing for a long time and prevent them from taking advantage of all the assets they own.
Yeah, and on rentals as well, you'll be able to form fleets that you can't fly. The limitation is on whether or not you can actually use those fleets, right? So you can still form the fleets and rent them out. So if you want to go buy a Titan and you have no account yet, you can still build that Titan into a fleet and rent that out to other people that can fly a Titan, for example.
Which is huge. I mean, that is such a big audience for us. I mentioned it at the beginning, but I think the fleet rental system over time, given how much demand is there, we could see people come into the ecosystem just to buy a large quantity of game assets with the pure intent of renting it out to other players. This makes sure that they're not restricted from forming fleets within the game, just from using them if they don't have the sufficient rank in game to do so.
Yeah, another big change here. We're introducing new scanning patterns as another thing that can be unlocked through the council rank system and the research nodes. So right now we basically have one scanning pattern, and it has its own galactic winds map and everything that people have noticed. It has its own basically loot table, right? Oh, Danny's leaking even more. But now we can have more scanning patterns with more types of loot that will be unlocked, and it takes different resources than just toolkits. I think, yeah, food. We changed that so much. But there's going to be more scanning patterns, different costs, different maps behind them. So there may be wildly different areas that you need to scan for certain things. So scanning is going to become even more interesting.
Nice. Yeah, more scanning patterns for scanners. That's actually, and more loot for data runners as well. Pretty cool.
And the good news is, if you're in a blockaded region, which is effectively a safe zone, you can still have those passively scanning in that region without fear of loss.
True.
Though low risk, low reward, right?
We'll see about that.
Anything else on council rank? Anything we missed?
Yeah, I see one question on the different cosmic currents depending on your scanning pattern. So it's not just one giant cosmic currents. There's a bunch of different ones going on.
I love it. Cosmic currents. Anything else, Brett, before we keep moving?
One question on the border regions that I see too. If a region is safe, enemy ships cannot enter it. You need to take over a region. But the definition of a safe region is all regions neighboring it are also owned by you, right? So you need to take over one of the regions neighboring it, then you can go into that region. So just want to be clear on that.
Okay. Michael, I think we have an announcement to make. Are we?
Begrudgingly, but by popular demand. Given all of the changes that have taken place to data runners in Starbase recently, as well as these up and coming features and enhancements to data runners as we get into C4 by popular demand and by request of the community. We have decided to launch a sale of data runners. So that'll consist of both the Rangers and the Rayfams right now, for which we have primary inventory. We're going to be offering a 50% discount for both the limited time and limited quantities. So right now, that data runner sale at 50% off will run to the earliest of either Monday of next week. We'll probably dial in a specific time, but I assume it'll be something like 9 or 10 a.m. PST. So that'll run through the weekend effectively. The quantities are limited. We have 280 Rangers on the market. We have 400 Rayfams that will be eligible for that 50% discount. So if you've been holding out, wanting to pick up a data runner or two, that discount is applied and live on the marketplace right now.
Do we have the link there? Anyone? Maybe Dom, our official link poster. Can link it in the chat so people can go check that out right now. I think it's live already on the marketplace. So yeah, no, I see someone asking for the Guardian. The Guardian is not a data runner. This is Rayfams and Rangers. So you guys can go check that out right now if you want. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, the only other data runner specialized ship is the Visus OPOD, but the OPOD right now is, was sold out many years ago. So this is primary market inventory from our team.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, sale is live right now. Limited time, limited quantity. So link has been posted on the announcements channel, so you can go check that out. Should we keep moving here? I think we wanted to cover a bit of the infrastructure improvements that we're making, and then we can get on the C4 rollout approach.
Yeah, can start talking a little bit about more of the back end technical type of stuff going on behind this. So Starcom has gone through a major rewrite to support C4. So especially with the basically over 100xing of the amount of stuff going on in C4, we really need something that can support that. So it's far more scalable now. We've written it in a different way now, where we have basically like a database that kind of stores the current state. Then we initialize a bunch of servers off of that, and the servers are live listening to a stream of data that we have. And each of those servers is running a SQLite database internally, so we can actually run some very complicated queries. And it also changes our dev workflow from being where like Starcom specifies here's all the things that a client can request, to being the client says I want to request these things, and we can Starcom can effectively serve those requests much more easily. So the client code becomes a lot simpler. The Starcom code just becomes, hey, we need to write these queries. The whole thing flows a lot better, and it's already a lot easier to work in as we're building out C4 here. So it should perform a ton better than the current Starcom system. There's a lot more observability in there, a lot more able to observe, like, or able to see like, oh, this was missed. We can catch that. We can compare like each one of the client facing servers to the like main database and see where the issues are coming between the two. So it's a lot. We've had a lot of issues with observability that now we're fixing. So we're able to find these issues a lot more easily. Used to be a ton of work or it still is a ton of work to trace any of those issues. Not live yet. That's coming. Still working on that, but it's coming with C4. Another big thing, we've talked about it a bit in like the community developers channel, but something we call Starframe. So if you know how programs are developed on Solana, the general system that's used is something called Anchor, or it's a library. Anchor's great. It works well. We ended up with writing SAGE, adding about 3 times as much code on top of Anchor's library of our own library stuff to get just SAGE working. And so finally got to the point where we need to rewrite, like basically tear out Anchor, make our own thing that works a ton better with Starframe. So it allows us to have much more complicated account structures, much more complicated data going on. We were able to get rid of a ton of like things that I bet people have noticed, like redundant token accounts, redundant cargo pods. Those are just gone now. Cargo pods are just in the fleet account. If you're a developer, you probably don't want to deal with all of the token accounts that are all over the place and all the cargo pods. It's a ton of work on our client and on our dev team too. So now we're able to reduce all of that. A lot of accounts have been merged, so there's now just we can have lists of lists inside of accounts, and they're super fast to access. So a lot of development has been streamlined like crazy. We were basically able to rewrite Sage with reference, but able to rewrite all of the things we've done in Sage over the past like year in about a couple weeks, right? So Starframe is a massive speed up for us, and it's what's letting us do all of these things in C4 that in this short amount of time. There's a lot of instructions are also heavily simplified due to that. Like a lot of things have gone from like 14 accounts to 4. Like transferring cargo is no longer like 20 different accounts just to transfer things, or mining doesn't need to be split into 2 transactions. We're able to do that all in one, and like transactions can compress a ton more. So it's going to be a lot easier. IDL is also compatible now, where it wasn't before. Like there was a section missing that made it harder on like developers on Sly and everything. So we will the IDL is now actually compatible. You're able to read that. It becomes a lot easier to interact with. So another big thing that we've done is we've integrated something called coherent UI into our Unreal workflow. And what that is basically allows us to put web code as like UI elements in Unreal. So there's actually quite a lot of UI sharing that is happening now between Unreal and web that makes it a lot easier all over. We make a lot more progress with a lot less work. Right. So we're able to, like right now, there's components in Unreal that are being pulled into the UI right now that are literally pointing to the same code. So it makes it a lot easier on us. It's very common too in the game industry to have something like that to do your UI in. So some big improvements coming.
Mm-hmm. People are already seeing also better success with star comment transactions and everything. So I saw a couple guys pointing that out in the chat.
Yeah, there's still work going on, but a large portion of the team is working on these big changes that are going to be coming out with C4.
Nice. And we can get on the C4 rollout approach. I don't know, Brett or Michael, who wants to cover it, so the committee can know how this is going to be phased out.
Yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward. We've touched on this, but this is going to roll out initially as a PTR, player test range, or we've also used player test realm, but it's essentially a beta version of this that's going to be accessible to the community to play test through without having any of the mainnet or live economic rewards while we go through that testing, refinement, polish, and gather feedback from players on how it's performing in functionality and any rebalancing requests that might exist in there. So it's going to start as a PTR. We anticipate a couple of months of testing on that. Could be quicker, could be longer, just depends on how the playtest goes. And from there, it will roll out as SAGE. We're actually dropping the labs moniker from this once we get to C4. We think it's at a state of maturity that we've evolved beyond the labs denotation and just moving direct into SAGE, and that'll be in browser as you access SAGE Starbase today. And then ultimately, we'll be working over the course of the year on a full integration and feature parity in Fleet Command as well. So if you prefer to access the SAGE feature set in a more immersive 3D environment in Unreal Engine 5, you'll be able to do that as well. I think probably worth noting here, and more to come on this later. We won't share too much, but this is going to be launching on our own dedicated network. You guys have heard us refer to that as AtlasNet. Brett, if there's anything you'd like to expand upon with AtlasNet and how this is going to launch initially as a C4 PTR, happy to hear from you now.
Yeah, we're looking at this as a test where we can do like, it's very similar to like the Blizzard concept of like start deploy it, try a whole bunch of different crazy numbers, try a bunch of different ways of how things work, see what works best, see which areas people really like and improve on those areas, that sort of thing. So it's meant to be as a big test. There's a ton of changes, of course. I mean, I saw a bunch of people worried about certain changes, and like this is why we release this as a PTR, so we can try these things out, see, hey, this actually doesn't work when we have a lot of players. So yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fully on AtlasNet, full. It'll be free, so completely free for everybody to participate in.
I think we probably still need to sort out how we'll be distributing assets to players on AtlasNet for C4 PTR. Most likely just a fixed bundle of game assets, I would think, but it's possible that we could just replicate whatever assets you have on mainnet and bring those into this separate network as well. There are
And
longer
people-
term.
Sorry,
just,
Michael. Keep going.
yeah, no worries. Just quickly here, there are some longer term implications for AtlasNet. We had a discussion about this pretty early in the year, but I won't share too much more about that. We still have a long town hall ahead of us. I'll just say we are already preparing for another big town hall, and we'll be talking more about the future of AtlasNet in that town hall, the next one that's up and coming. So, but this is also going to give us a lot of data about the performance of that network itself and how we potentially utilize that going forward.
Mm-hmm. And one question that people were asking is if they are going to need to migrate to a new game ID, like it happened before. I don't know if we have that answer already, but saw it a couple of times in the chat.
We're not going to go
Yeah.
too into detail on the actual release time. We'll, as we get closer there, we'll talk more about it. But right now, we're just talking about the PTR, which is free net. So
Sounds good.
And but it absolutely will be a new game ID when we get to C4 mainnet launch.
All right. I think with that we covered everything C4 related. I think we will skip the Q&A at this town hall and we will keep it for tomorrow at the Econ Forum and next week at the Atlas Brew, because we're literally just at 1/3 of the town hall. So we have to keep moving. But Brett, man, thank you so much for joining us on stage.
yeah,
It's
thanks for
always a
having me.
pleasure to have you.
A lot of fun. Have a good rest of your town hall, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Brett. Incredible work
And
on
thank
the
you, Danny.
on the engineering side. I was going to say the same thing, Santi. Danny dropped. It is probably getting late for him, but really appreciate him jumping up and sharing insights as well.
Yes, thank you, Danny, for joining as well and sharing all the dev tools there, or the game design tools. You guys got a real sneak peek behind the curtains. But Michael, we have to keep moving. I think this is a good moment for the audience to go grab a glass of water, some beer, whatever you want, some snacks, because we still have Star Atlas Town Hall. We still have at least 1 more hour, I think. So we'll keep going. But the next thing that we will be talking about is our Unreal Engine 5 product. And for that, we want to get Chipto on stage and also Dominic Bain. Welcome, fellas. Welcome to the stage. Chip, how are you doing, friend?
Hello. How do I sound?
You sound good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm amped. I hadn't gotten my own full rundown of all the C4 stuff, and I'm just blown away. So, like, really tough act to follow. But I think I have some cool stuff to share today. So.
Yeah, nice. I think people are saying that you sound a bit bad, but it may be just I don't know if you're using the right mic, but you still we can still understand.
Let me double check my mic. 1 sec.
Yeah. Dominic Bain, how are you doing, friend?
Dude, this town hall is epic. It's gonna be like, is this the longest town hall ever? 3 hours? It's probably gonna be 3 hours.
For sure, the longest town hall ever. Yes.
Dude, my favorite thing about what was just happening is he said, "How do I sound?" You were like, "You sound good." Everyone else was like, "Man, he sounds like trash." Oh
Dude.
man, that's hilarious.
If I can understand what people are saying, that's good enough for me, you know?
Oh man. I'm
Yeah,
just here to
perfectly
stream, sir.
understandable.
I'm just here to stream, sir. I'm Tripto's assistant here.
I switched mics. Is it better?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, can anyone hear Chip?
No.
We should have dry ran this. All right.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Loud and clear, Chipto. We can
Great.
get
We got you,
on
man.
what is coming for E. UE.
All right. Are we hopping over to my segment or any other comments?
Yeah, I think we can get
Okay.
on your segment.
All right. So yeah, just want to briefly mention, and we've said it before, that the velocity at which the UE team has been developing has significantly increased this year, and we've opted for a more higher cadence, frequent release schedule, with the caveat that we do take some times and maybe extend the releases out a month or so farther out, just to accommodate chunkier features. And what I want to do today is talk about our next major mid-year release coming up in the coming months. I want to go through the scope and some just updates that we have planned. So before I dive into that, I want to mention that this mid-year release is going to be our next major strong push surrounding our multiplayer gameplay, so our arena racing. Before we kind of recalibrate the latter half of the year and put a lot more dev effort on fleet command. So expect another big chunky update, as you'll see, polishing and updating arena and multiplayer and dedicated server support. And then you'll see the team after this next mid-year release start to really focus and show the love towards fleet command, because you guys saw what's coming with C4. We want to get fleet command caught up as quickly as possible. So that's the strategy going into the rest of the year. Just wanted to lay that out there. And the other thing I want to mention before we get into it is that what I'm about to talk about for mid-year release, it's all tentative. It's all work in progress. I don't take it all as gospel yet. Things can change in the next between now and the release, but we thought we might as well show it to you and get you excited. So without further ado, let's hop into it. I think the focus of this next mid-year release is progression. Right now, we have some pretty sticky, pretty fun game modes. We even have grassroots esports tournaments going on. People are really enjoying our arena gameplay, but we want to give players a reason to come back and give players a sense of progression and a way to even kind of express the amount of time they put into the game. And the way we're going to do that is what we're calling preseason character group rank. So Dom, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and we want to show our current mock-ups for some of the UI elements that show this progression. Just giving it a second to load there, Dom.
Loading. Oh, Dom, time for the joke. Oh, he dropped.
He dropped.
I think he crashed. No way.
Well, while Dom's wrestling with that, I'm just going to go ahead and start outlining what progression is in the release. So we have this concept of preseason character group rank. And what that means is we're splitting up your crew into character groups by species and gender. So, for instance, high Punab males or Sogmian females or human males, you will progress your character group ranks based on that category. And the reason why we're doing that is because until we have the concept of on-chain crew, like individual crew progression, we wanted a way for you to we wanted a way for you to still be able to progress at the crew level. And we didn't want to build out this whole server infrastructure that is like off-chain that is like a proxy for crew leveling up. So what we're doing is we're using Epic Online Services stats, which limits it to like 1,000 stats per account.
and leveraging that so that you just level up the human male track or the high Punam female track as one collective group. So if you play with a high Punam female, any of them that you own, they will all XP that's earned while playing with them will go towards that track. So that's the context of what preseason character group rank is. There's going to be 20 levels, and when you hit level 20 with a character group rank, we're going to allow you to prestige it up to 10 times. So and you'll be able to reset the rank and keep going, and you'll be able to show your prestige badge flare in game. And we have mock-ups showing you what that looks like, but waiting for Dom to get back in here.
Yeah,
To
we need
show-
Dom because they're already posting crazy pictures in the chat.
so I explained preseason character group rank, 20 levels, prestige it up to 10 times. And the way you're going to get XP is by playing matches on dedicated servers. So we aren't going to allow you to just boot up your own lobby, go kill your friend 100 times and get a bunch of XP. You're going to need to get in an official dedicated server match, and kills, weapon upgrades and gun game, capturing a zone and zones, depositing tags and surge. All those will have XP events associated with them. And another cool thing is you'll be able to get bonus XP from different avenues. So rarity of the crew that you're currently playing with will matter, and higher rarity will mean higher XP rates. You will also be able to do daily check-ins, and as you play consecutive days in a row, you will build up an XP boost streak. And then let's see, is there any other ones? And then as you prestige, you'll also get more higher XP rates. So we have some XP boosts that we're planning for. Let's see. But then I talked about character group rank. Now, why do you want to rank up? Like, what's the point? So there's several things. First, we have this concept of your jetpack slots. So you have a jetpack hand slot and a jetpack souls slot, and then you have a shield, or what we're calling a bubby slot. So jetpacks in our games are called jetties. Shields are called bubbies. So you have a jetty soul slot, a jetty palm slot, and a bubby slot. You'll be able to unlock different variants of those equipables as you level up a character group rank. So as you hit level 10, and you unlock a new bubby, a new shield. Oh, here we go. I think we're online now. Okay.
I see it.
Sweating
I see
it.
it.
Okay, let me take a step back. Let me take a step back and just talk about what you're seeing here. So these are our current work in progress mock-ups. You can see if you at the top, if you zoom in on that right there, those are the prestige. Well, our current work in progress prestige flare. We're gonna zhuzh those up a bit and make them a bit poppier as you get higher up in rank. But you can see that you'll be able to showcase your prestige. And then the second number, so that 1.10 is a prestige 1 rank 10 in character group rank. 2 is prestige 2 rank 10. Goes all the way up to rank 20. And then zoom back out and go down a little bit, Dom. And then as you're navigating through your crew in your game, you'll be able to see the XP boosts on the card there based on the rarity, as well as so based on the rarity prestige, you can see plus 45% XP there. And I think that's all I want to show there. Can you zoom out and see if there's anything else we want to talk about? Yeah, let's go over to the end of match flow real quick. So at the end of a match, we also here's mock-ups on okay, I got a bunch of XP. Here there's just going to be a really nice and sticky kind of end of match progression flow where you get some nice animations. You see what XP you get. You see your progress towards the next character group rank. So really great job from our UI team there. So, and then what's neat about this page right here is we are planning for some on-chain rewards based on your progression here. What the current plan is, we're going to be setting thresholds for, say, we're leaning towards total number of character group rank prestiges, and you'll be able to hit thresholds for getting airdropped to your wallet crew packs. We're even thinking about and I don't know if this changed, but last I heard we were thinking about a different tier of crew pack or a different type of crew pack for this for these rewards, and we're also planning for a Unreal Engine specific resource, and we're calling it internally the nanobot goo, but it's that black goo you see around the weapon spawners. That's its own resource, and that resource will be earned exclusively in Unreal, but will be used in recipes in C4. So you can. There's going to be some crossovers, some economic crossovers between UE gameplay and C4 Sage economy. So that's exciting. Let's see. Okay, so I showed this
It's
mock-up.
actually very
Go ahead.
exciting. And
Yeah.
I mean, you ran over that one quickly, but I'm really stoked both on the progression as well as this idea that there is an exotic resource that creates a crossover between gameplay of both Sage and our Unreal Engine client. I think it's super cool. It's a way to create the economic integration and again crossover between play. I also think that it probably in a lot of ways encourages those players who have been engaged in, say, arena shooter matches, earning this exotic resource to maybe purchase some other ship assets or other, claim stakes, any of the other asset categories we have, and start participating in C4 or Fleet Command, maybe even in between matches, to kind of further enhance their ability to take advantage of that resource that they're earning.
100%. I mean, the implications are huge here, and just the cross pollination between UE and Sage is something we haven't seen yet, and it's something that is going to be an extremely powerful tool for us as we build out content in both. So, yeah, totally agreed. Dom, right now is a good time to bring up the table. I want to explain what the preseason group rank is, like what the unlock schedule looks like.
Bringing it up.
Yep, let's do it. I think this will really help kind of solidify this nebulous concept into something more stable. So I'll explain it. You start at level 1, right? For say your human female track. And you start out, we're switching to a loadout system where you have weapon slots. So you have 4 weapon slots, and imagine that a pistol takes up 1 slot, a auto rifle takes up 2 slots, a sniper will take up 4 slots, right? But you don't have the sniper unlocked yet. So you'll start out with just having the kinetic pistol and the auto rifle unlocked, and you'll use up 3 of those 4 slots. And then at level 2, you unlock a starter grenade, and now you can equip for human females in matches a starting grenade, and now you're using all 4 of your weapon slots. And then at level 3, and before we get to level 3, you already have default equipment. So you have the basic jetty souls, jetty palms, and bubble shield. So essentially, like what you are used to playing with now, consider that default equipment. Okay, and you already equipped that, and those don't take up slots. What takes up weapon or config slots are weapons and grenades. But you can only have 1 jetty soul equipped at any given time, or 1 jetty palm equipped at any given time. And I'll show that in game here in a sec. But level 3, you unlock a soul jetty. We're calling it Dasher, and imagine that allows you to dash and slide for lower cost. So you can dash and slide more often, but maybe it has less speed for hovering, right? So what we want to do is we want to create these variants that have trade-offs where you gain some, you lose some. We don't want to make it so that we'll try to make it so that one isn't like dominant or better than the other. So you can see just going all the way down to level 20, you continue to unlock weapons for your weapon slots. You unlock different jetties, buggies, and then at level 10 or not level. At level 5, you unlock 2 more weapon slots, so you have 6. And then at level 10, you have 8 total. So now you can equip that. You can equip those heavier weapons once you have those larger weapon slots. Now, if players don't like this, or we find that we at tournament rules, don't mesh well with this, we are making it a match setting to turn the system on and off. So if we turn the system off, players will just start out with the default 2 weapons, and there will be weapon pickups in the arena, and it'll essentially play this the way it plays now. But in the context of turning this on, we'll remove the weapon pickups on the map. Players will have their starter weapon configs, and they'll need to pick up ammo for their weapons. So if I have a shotgun in my config, I don't start out with just 12 shots for my shotgun. I'll have to go pick up the ammo, and the ammo will respawn on the arena over certain intervals. So we're currently prototyping this. We're playtesting it as of this week. And it'll be exciting because it plays well with our current progression system we're laying out here. Okay, so I think that's enough on this. I hope that paints a better picture on what it means to progress a character group rank. The last thing I'll mention is when you prestige from level 20, get reset back to level 1, you keep everything you've unlocked. But you just reset your level. So you'll still have your sniper rifle unlocked for that group rank. And as we add more content, new weapons, new jetties, things like that, we'll add new drops to the prestige levels. So maybe you unlock something new at prestige 2, rank 5, right? Okay.
Chip.
Take a breather for a second. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. I just want to jump in. I'm really, really excited about this progression element. I've played a bunch of looter shooters. I mean, Division 2, and we all played Destiny 2 fairly recently. I guess it's been a little while now,
Yeah.
but I think this new mechanic and feature introduces. It's kind of a separate track from an esports style arena shooter gameplay where everyone is on level footing, right? And then you have more of the MMO style looter shooter where your progression in game actually contributes to your performance in some way. And for a guy like me that needs to get good, might not be as good at clicking on heads, I love the idea that I can build a loadout based on my progression, and even customize my performance and specialize in different facets of gameplay that just that makes me more competitive, and I know that the time that I put into the game to leveling up is actually contributing to my success in these modes as well. Super exciting for me. Really stoked to see this.
Yeah, and we're building the foundation for MMO still. We're not deviating extremely far and deciding we are now the next big arena shooter. What we're still doing is building out our foundational game systems, and with loadouts, those will be used in our open world MMO elements. But imagine that maybe arenas you cap out at 8 weapon slots, but open world, as you continue to level up your crew, you can get 30 weapon slots. But that's broken in an arena. But in open world, it feels great because you can carry around a lot more weapons, right? So that's the direction we're going with, and we're just continuing to build these foundational game systems while still creating compelling and repeatable and fun game experiences now, right? With the arena shooter. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff with implementing these systems. Okay, I'm gonna keep pressing because still got more to get through. So we heard your feedback on our scoreboards in our matches, especially with the recent tournaments. And just wanted to show you guys that we took a chance to redesign our scoreboards, and this is what they're going to look like now in game. So now when you hold tab in game, you'll have a translucent scoreboard overlay, and it'll give you a much more detailed, up-to-date stats, including all of the players on the team, and we'll also support an assists now. And assists will get you XP, so we're adding an assist system. And there you can see red versus blue team. You'll see everybody on the same screen instead of just the top 3 players or only your team. So, yeah, I think this will be a really welcomed refinement to our existing scoreboard system. Okay, I think that's good there. Kudos to the UI team. A really great job on that. Okay. Let's see. We talked about the ammo pickups. I think now is the next thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to do a live demo. So let me open up my Unreal Engine, and I'm going to segue into just something I'm really excited about, and some of our Vantara playtesters could shout out to them. They're really excited about. They've been able to play test and sneak peek on what I'm about to show you. But in talking about our current arena shooter, one of our unique selling points is our movement, right? People really love the jetpacking, the dashing, the freedom that comes with just being able to hover everywhere, right? So we're leaning into that a bit more, and we added some new mechanics to our movement, and I want to showcase that. So I'm sharing my screen now. Let me know if the stream quality is good. Let me just log into my dev wallet.
Looks good. Looks good.
Okay. All right. So here I am with my crew member, my trusty air bike. Let me just showcase real quick. So just to kind of reinforce what I showed earlier, here you can see the new slots, right? And so this is still work in progress. I just have numbers there, but you can see I can slot in different bubbies, different souls. So I'm going to give myself the runner souls, which I'm pretty sure that gives me faster running speed. Thirsty, I'll let you guys theorycraft on what that one does. Okay, so I just wanted to show that real quick. We're already playtesting the different jetty variants, but I want to show you guys our new movement mechanics. And we're leaning into momentum conservation, momentum preservation. So once we load in here, I want to showcase these.
Live demo alert.
Yeah, I don't know why Volant Station's taking so long to load here.
Classic.
Oh my gosh. I swear this didn't happen earlier. Let me
Classic.
1 second. Apologies, guys.
We're just
I'm
doing
probably
live, guys.
gonna choose a different level to load. I think it's because I'm streaming is why I didn't practice streaming earlier. 1 sec.
It's all part of the town hall experience. It's all good, man.
All right, I'm getting back in 1 second. I think if I get into the level first and then start streaming, it'll be a bit more stable since a lot happens when you first load into a level. So at least that's my suspicion.
It makes sense. It does make sense. Wouldn't be a town hall with at least 4 crashes. True? I think everyone who was on stream already crashed except Michael so far. You will need to fulfill the prophecy, Michael.
I'll be streaming my actual SAGE Starbase account at the end of the town hall.
We're at half the town hall, by the way.
Okay. Please don't crash. I'm going to share my screen now. Let's go. All right. You guys see my...
Let's see.
We good?
We see. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm in Volant Station. All right. So yeah, I want to... A couple things have changed, mostly around momentum preservation. First thing I'll point out is... Well, first off, I'm running way faster because I got my runners on. Check that out. I think I don't know. I think it's like 20-30% faster. But anyways, when you release hover now, one of our polish items is you get a bit of momentum there at the end, so you keep going upward, and it just has a better feel. And that's one of our smaller kind of refinements. But I think one of our bigger refinements is around slide, and we just completely reworked the impulse around slide. So now it's very much faster and just takes better. Just is much more fluid and much more what you expect. And the other thing we did was with sliding, is the knees don't steer as much on the slope, and you just continue in the direction of motion. So like here, you saw that instead of the knees, starting to steer me down the slope, I just continued at an angle. So sliding feels a lot better, feels a lot more fluid, and there will be jetty variants that enhance your slide in ways. But another thing we added is bunny hopping. So you can see here now I'm able to keep that momentum with jumping. Before you would slow down immediately, but now I'm keeping some of my momentum with each bunny hop. So it's really fun. And then here's this other interesting thing is I can farm momentum by doing a bunch of slide cancels, which is intentional. So we anticipate players that are really into the movement, they're gonna be playing and having a time with this enhanced movement preservation or momentum preservation. So yeah,
Yeah.
high level
Good luck
recap.
doing James now.
Yeah, high level recap. Just better feel with ending hover and jetty boost, and then sliding is improved, and then bunny hopping was added. So yeah, that's live demo I wanted to showcase there.
Very
Okay,
cool.
let's get back into the rest of the July updates.
Leak.
Okay.
Leak.
Okay, yeah. We're also working on persistent regional dedicated server lobbies. So, and those are going to be the ones that are XP enabled. And with those, we will have game modes rotating on a weekly basis. We'll call those like spotlight game modes. We're integrating easy anti-cheat. And actually, I think easy anti-cheat was already enabled in the build I was just showcasing now. So we're pretty. I think we have it integrated. If not, we're really close. Next bullet item, spectator mode. So we heard you. We love the grassroots esports tournaments that are emerging from the community, and we want to prioritize spectator mode in our next release. So we're working on that. We're gonna get it in. We're gonna make it so that the cameraman can really follow along with the action. So that's a big feature that we're adding. Next, with Paizo's Arena, we're gonna take that to 100%. So right now, consider it 80%. We're gonna add that last 20 bit of polish. Things like the crowd's gonna throw like little confetti and like trash at you. So there's gonna be like you're gonna see like things raining from the crowds, kind of like an actual gladiatorial arena. You're gonna see moss vegetation on the walls. You're gonna see scum in the water. You're gonna hear waterfall sounds outside and flyby sounds from the ships that are flying around in the up in the atmosphere. Better transition between like outside sounds versus inside crowd chanting sounds. But just a general polish pass, because what we want to do is we want to show off to what level of fidelity we can really build our environment. So we're prioritizing Paizo's Arena, as Dom likes to say, the instant classic. We're going to get that to show in all its glory. The other thing we're doing is we're replacing track B with a fully brand new track called Exonate, and it's going to be Sogmian themed, and we're already play testing an early block out of it now. So really excited about that. Main menu refresh. So we're going to be refreshing the Salt Flats background scene with an updated, more visually compelling scene, and we're also going to be restyling some of the UI. And then joystick gamepad support. So we got most of the way there with our last release, but we're still not 100%. We recognize that some of you that tried hooking up your HOTAS or joysticks, it wasn't fully compatible yet. So we're working on that. We made significant progress, and with that, we want to show off just a demo of it working already. So go ahead and play the Brad's clip.
The legend.
So kudos to Brad for recording this for us yesterday. But yeah, this is him playing the latest. setup. Right on. Really cool to see.
Very cool, yeah.
And
Thank you,
then,
Brad, legend.
yeah, thank you, Brad, for that, and thank you in advance for this next video we're going to show. But let me preface it by saying that you guys love what we're doing in Galea, especially with the mining gameplay. So we decided we wanna prototype and lean into another career path. So we've been spending some time on our scanning gameplay in Galea, and what we've done is we prototyped this concept of scanning while you're subwarping and finding a signal, and what can happen when you find that signal and investigate it. So go ahead and play the video. And can you raise the volume on it if possible?
That's the loudest it could be right
Okay,
now.
great. So Brad just scanned in scanning mode in subwarp, and he found a distress signal, and he's approaching it as we speak. As it got closer, we got more details, and it looks like assistance is required. Super generous there. All right, guys. Yeah, big shout out to Brad. He put this whole prototype together himself, and not only is he an excellent prototyper, he's a comedian because I think he wrote all of that text and the script and voice acted it himself. So yeah, W's in chat for Brad. That amazing work there.
Now he's in the chat. Yes.
So you can see where we're going. We're prototyping, scanning, but also random encounters and different mini quests you can engage with, and that's just one of the ones he's done. I think we have several others that he's already created. So we want to get these in for the next release so that players can have fun with them.
Chip, the burning question though is what is the credit to Atlas exchange rate?
6.5 to 1. I don't know.
We won't overcommit here. Oh, 6.5 Atlas. Okay, so that was a score.
Yeah, super generous. All right, I think that's it for my segment. Yeah, a lot planned for this upcoming release. I'm really excited to get this in the hands of the community and the players. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited as I am because because we got really great momentum, and the UE dev team is killing it lately. So we're continuing to press and just deliver. So thanks for having me, guys. I think that's it for me.
Great stuff, Chip. Fantastic.
Yeah, Chip, thanks for coming up and sharing all of that, and a lot of exciting updates coming here. You guys are absolutely crushing it on the product side, and we announced it. Well, geez, I don't even remember how long ago, many months ago, but moving you over into that VP of game production role was a great transition, and you've done a great job leading that team, man. Well done.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, good luck for the rest of the town hall. We're 2/3 of the way through, so but I'll hop off now. Cheers.
Thank you, Chip. Crushing it, man. W's in the chat for Chip, everyone. W's in the chat for Chip. The legend. Oh, swag, man. We're still going. We're still going.
Yeah, I think it's only an hour and a half left.
Yes. But yeah, if you made it to this part, guys, you won't be disappointed. Let me tell you that. You won't be disappointed. Because we are now moving into the last part of this town hall, which is about HoloSim. So I think, Michael, for the people that have no idea, I think we probably need to preface a little bit what HoloSim is and what is it about.
Yeah, I mean, people have heard us talking about this. If you're a member of the community, we've kind of teased a little bit of it. I think we've shared some screenshots. Obviously, we've revealed the name previously, but HoloSim is our full free-to-play simulated universe implementation of the SAGE feature set. Now, we have a demo for you guys today, and so you will actually get to see some of the stark differences that are already integrated into this HoloSim product. But I noted at the very start of the town hall that we had corporate-wide objectives and goals that we wanted to accomplish this year, and by and large, many of those were tailored towards reducing the barrier to entry, simplifying the onboarding experience, and really trying to achieve and target casting a wide net and building this large top of funnel user acquisition pipeline for Star Atlas. Now, internally, we've kind of had this theme of breaking out of the echo chamber. One of the challenges that we've faced over the years, and I will attribute a good portion of this to just market dynamics that we're all navigating here as we build towards a more mature product that will be attractive to an audience outside of this native Web3 crypto user. I say that, and we genuinely love you guys, our community. Well, most of you guys, but joking, of course. But in order for us to achieve success and to truly see the fruits of all of the labor here blossom, it's important for us to grow the user base, the community, the ecosystem substantially. And without going off on too far of a tangent here, I see the total addressable market, the TAM, or potential audience for Star Atlas, not like I don't benchmark it against any traditional video game or even Web3 game. I think with everything that we have to offer and this idea of a cyber nation, the global borderless digital economy and real labor markets that exist, I see this as being something that can attract potentially hundreds of millions of participants over time. Now, that's a very ambitious goal and something that would, take quite a while to achieve. But how do we make progress towards that? And part of it is recognizing that, something like Sage is quite a challenging product to get into. It has a steep learning curve. It also has a pretty significant cost of entry to get into. And alternatively, we have our very immersive Unreal Engine product that's still pretty early stage. And a major focus there was working on a core gameplay loop or a couple of loops that really consist of arena shooter and racing modules that can create a deep level of engagement and replayability and fun but we also know we're, some of the things we're lacking there are economic integrations and character progression. And as Chip just discussed, those are a couple of the core features that we're focused on going into mid-year here for the next major release of that Unreal Engine client. But as we assess all of that and we think about our goals, we kind of had the fortunate circumstance of a free-to-play product getting developed. I do want to give a special mention here to Jacob, our CTO and co-founder, for largely vibe coding HoloSim on nights and weekends. I think he got the product 50 or 60% of the way to where it is now. Now it's seen a significant amount of development and contributions from people like Xcode, that's John Reeve, Michael Kane, Jeff Wagner, Jose, all participating in polishing this out and bringing it to where it is now. But I mentioned that specifically because as we've talked about HoloSim, there have been some questions about how many resources this is consuming from the team and how much is it pulling away from some of our other development efforts. And the reality is that this HoloSim product has actually required minimal resources relative to everything else that we work on, and really proud of what the team has accomplished with it already. But in essence, our product goals on HoloSim were, first of all, to create a fun experience. It is free to play, doesn't require any capital investment. And we want to make sure that what we release here is fun and engaging, because it also doesn't have the benefits of a live real cash economy like we have in SAGE, for example. Fun experience was number one. We wanted as I noted, a very low resource cost from the team side, so we can continue to focus on our other major product lines and feature releases. And importantly, that we wanted to create an experience that essentially created zero barrier to entry for any new participant. And so in the case of HoloSim, that means that you're not burdened with creating a wallet, although a wallet is technically created in the background. It's in browser. But the user isn't exposed to that wallet creation process because there's no asset requirement either, which means we've eliminated the financial cost of barrier to play. And then otherwise, there's no user registration process on this either. You simply go to the website, you go to the domain, and you're immediately ready to start playing. Now, what we see this creating is a way for us to ultimately start to expand and reach out to a mainstream user or a Web 2 user, because we're eliminating those friction points, and we're also creating a fun, free-to-play product that we certainly hope is engaging. Now, along the way, assuming we can capture this audience, we're also we've also integrated tutorial systems and mission systems that really familiarize these new users with the way that SAGE works. Now we see an opportunity here to ultimately bridge some of these free-to-play users into SAGE and into the live economy, but at least as a starting point, we're teaching them how to play with really no risk whatsoever. So that will let them test all of the features of SAGE and again, teach them how to play. Now, in the meantime, we're also able to leverage this platform as a way for us to introduce new mechanics and features and test that out for ourselves and gather feedback on that. Now, a lot of the systems that they're going to demo today on the call, I am quite confident there will be demand for. I think immediately following this town hall, we're actually going to get requests from people to port those features and that functionality into SAGE. And in many cases, we will be doing that. But this is an opportunity for us to test out new features, almost like a PTR environment. So it's a kind of a test of a test, which SAGE Labs really was in the first place. We also are testing new infrastructure here. We talked about AtlasNet earlier on as where C4 PTR will be launched, and in the same way, we're actually using that same clone of the Solana SVM that we've been working off of to test all of our on-chain programs internally. We're leveraging that network now as the network that will host HoloSim as well as C4 PTR, again, pretty big implications for how that resolves going into the future. But in the near term, it means very fast transactions, high network reliability, and zero cost for anybody who's transaction costs for anybody who's on that network. And finally, I'll finish with this because I'm sure everybody's eager to jump in and see these demos from both John and Jose here. But for us, this actually creates a new revenue stream potential as well. Treating it more as a Web 2 product with Web 2 monetization means we can couple this with things like a battle pass or a subscription fee that's a monthly service, as well as adding various degrees of microtransactions to this. And if it's a really fun product, which we think it will be, and it attracts this Web 2 mainstream audience in, and we can secure some new cash flows as a result of this with the potential for large user acquisition and growth, then that obviously supports Automata, it supports the studio, and it gives us a lot more flexibility in decision making that we make around things like asset release structure, strategy, and the other ways that we monetize all of our Web3 products. So I think this is an incredibly powerful product. Really excited just to introduce the team here and turn it over to them to show off what we've been building.
Michael, before we do that, and while you get a sip of water, I think people are losing the steadiness in the chat and they want to know a release date for this.
Well, should we? How about we do this? How about we go through the demo first?
Don't tell them.
Okay,
Don't
Makes
tell them.
sense.
we don't tell them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
They won't
Okay,
believe us
guys.
anyways.
You can lose the steadiness. You can lose the steadiness. We'll keep going.
I will address one question really quickly here. So Krabby in the chat mentioned, put this free to play on phone and you'll get a ton of new folks. Well, part of the benefit of this obfuscation of wallet tech, for example, and transactions taking place in the background on AtlasNet is that it is a lot easier for us to port over to mobile, and we've actually been preparing for that. And there is the possibility for us to have this as a standalone app on both the App Store and Google Play Store. So part of the bigger operational objective of securing new user acquisition, deploying this product to mobile is very much in the roadmap.
Nice. Jose, Xcode, you guys are ready for a live demo alert?
Oh my god, let's do it, Santi. GM, everyone. My penguin bones are trembling. I am super excited to be here talking about HoloSim. And while John pulls out the string, I would like to do a very brief introduction to another side of HoloSim. Michael did a great presentation on the many aspects of this product. It is indeed a product with many different levels for our company. It's an onboarding product. It is a tutorial mechanism to get people familiar with SAGE, but also, and I think this is the most important aspect of HoloSim, it's a space for us to experiment and go wild. So what is HoloSim? HoloSim is a simulator of realities in Star Atlas. Every season of HoloSim will be based on a scenario where we, Automata, will define a specific set of rules for the game to play out, and the players, you guys, will compete in those scenarios according to the rules of that season, of that scenario, and we'll try to perform across the leaderboards. You guys will try the new mechanics, you guys will experiment the different factions, elements, and many cool stuff that we have reserved for you guys. So for example, in one season of the HoloSim, we could go back all the way to the days of the Convergence War and replay the battle that you guys read about in Core. In another season of HoloSim, we could have an entirely different logic from what we have on SAGE right now, and we have all the factions being in the same side under the Council of Peace and fighting threats from the high-risk zone. And, well, there are some even more exotic scenarios, but I'm not going to talk about those now. I am going immediately give you guys some highlights about the scenario that we have developed for you guys in this soft early access of HoloSim. We have prepared for this scenario a race between the factions. The logic of this first scenario of HoloSim is that every faction, every player is competing to fulfill faction contracts of different types across all star bases in Galia Expanse. It looks simple. Yeah, John is showcasing this on the interface right now. We have aerogel contracts, we have crystal contracts, we have data contracts. And even though it seems simple on the surface, well, we never do things that people expect here in Star Atlas. So we added a couple of rules, a couple of twists that will make the experience a lot more interesting. The first one of those is that HoloSim incorporates into Star Atlas a quest system. And this quest system allows players to specialize in 4 different in-game careers. So while you play HoloSim, you'll be able to become a soldier, a data runner, a miner, or a merchant. And the way that we designed the game is that while you progress, while you do the quests, you choose one specialization path, and this will unlock recipes for you in that specialization path. And the cool thing about this system is that every specialization is necessary for you to fulfill parts of the game in order for your faction to keep advancing towards the end goal of the game. Sorry if I'm going a little too fast, John. I'm getting super hyped here. But John is showing right now, for example, one of the ship crafting recipes that we get from specializing combat. So, for example, if you become a soldier, you open up the Ogrica Mick, you open up the Tripid, you open up capital ships that are specialized in combat. If you go, for example, to the miner's career, you have access to the Armstrong line of ships. And as you guys have guessed, each one of them will excel at their different gameplay loops. This is a very important topic here because we have played with the ship stats in game. So whenever you guys pick a ship in HoloSim, you guys will notice that they are widely different from your normal SAGE ships. The merchant ships, their cargo will be absurdly better. They will perform really well on hauling cargo, trading. Miner ships will be extremely good at mining, but their combat abilities will be very, very low. So the game is designed to highlight the differences between ships and allow them to thrive in their specializations. Of course, you still have access to normal ships that perform other tasks, but you can't compete in terms of quality and efficiency with the ships that comes from the specializations in their specific tasks. There is another very cool feature of HoloSim that the players of Star Atlas have been desiring from day 0 on SAGE. John, can you show them the chat system? I think this is something that we have been waiting for a long time to coordinate. Yes, we'll have chats. We'll be able to talk with our members of our faction. And this is vital. This is vital for the faction's success in HoloSim. Because many of the quests revolves around upgrading star bases, deploying resources, coordinating attacks. So yeah, you can see in the chat, it's live now. So players will be talking with each other. They will be chat system. They will be deciding their strategies. They will be defending their fellow members of their factions. this is this is super exciting, and yeah, this opens up a whole new level of gameplay. Another thing that I noticed during this town hall is that players have been saying, man, C4 is growing so big, so complex, that I might need an AI to play the game. And well, HoloSim got this covered for you. Now, HoloSim introduces artificial intelligence technology to SAGE. During the gameplay of HoloSim, one of your crew members is your ship personal AI. You unlock it through the quest system, and she will be there providing you with resources, informations, general information about Star Atlas, about the lore, about the game mechanisms, gameplay loops. Sage will be your loyal and your loyal crew member, and she will help you go through the game and perform the best way possible. Finally, this wouldn't be uh, complete without combat, right? HoloSim introduces the combat V0 mechanic to the Star Atlas ecosystem. So if Star Atlas Sage was already interesting, now we have mechanics that allows us to ambush other players, to attack other fleets. And there's a very interesting thing about combat in HoloSim is that in this season, combat is high risk zone. So this is one of the twists that we added to this scenario of HoloSim. Combat is completely obliteration. If you die, if your fleet dies, you lose the fleet, you lose the crew, and you need to build another thing, you need to regroup, you need to rethink your strategy because it's totally on. And remember when I said that HoloSim is based on the delivery of contracts? When you kill players from opposing factions and they have, for example, faction contracts in their loot box, in their cargo holds, those contracts, they will be dropped in game, and when they are dropped, you can loot those contracts and redeem you for your faction benefit. So this creates a very interesting dynamic. You need miners in game to gather the resources for your faction, to then craft the contracts. You need the merchants to be able to haul cargo across the different systems and provide liquidity and resources to support your Starbase operations, to support your battles in the fronts of Gallia Expanse. You need data runners to acquire SDUs and to be able to craft data contracts. That's one of the types of contracts that we'll have. And finally, we'll have the combat people that will defend their fellow crew members and will attack the enemies to steal their contracts. So right now on stage, you see one of my fleets.
This is not what we planned. I'll send you something.
Is Jose getting destroyed?
Yeah, John turned the tables on me. He said, Jose, I'm going to let you destroy on stage a very noob ship. Don't worry, you look nice. But then I see that he ambushed my Penguin's Wrath with his C11, no. The Dream of Orcas, and the Badger fleet. No, you can destroy my fleet, John. It's for the people. I want them to see live how the loot system works.
I want you to engage this fleet in subwarp first with the first Newtopia, because I have a transport passing you, and I want people to see that they can attack. They can be ambushed while in subwarp.
Yeah, this is something really important. Movement is super important in HoloSim. If you are warping, you can't be attacked. But if you are sub-warping and someone warps over you, they can go and do this. You guys see, I destroyed his shield with just the first hit of my Feast of Nutopia, and then I'll go and attack him again. His life is decreasing. He's trying to flee the system, but he's too slow to flee in time. And finally, I have destroyed his fleet. It is victor for the Penguin. Our cargo loot here will show to me.
You know what?
And then,
I think it left the system just as you were about to destroy it.
no way, John.
It had like one hit point and it got out.
Really?
Yeah,
I'll hunt
yeah.
you down. Hold on.
You caught me at the tail end.
Are you guys literally fighting live? Like,
Yeah,
this
is live.
Yeah, I'll hunt him down. Hold on.
I'll demonstrate an actual just how a ship should get destroyed with the Dream of Orcas here. So I'm going to choose attack, and I'm going to attack Penguin's Wrath. Hopefully, attack. Choose. No, maybe not. Maybe he's immune to me.
He's protected by the cosmic currents.
He might actually. Iris might be protecting him. Let me see if I can add something to it.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to escape you. People will see
You're
me
going to escape. Yeah.
Hold on.
Hang on. Let me refresh. Can't give away too much here. Let's refresh.
Yeah. I'll give you some time. Otherwise, I'll escape.
Not working? Maybe not. Maybe not.
It's happening.
Live demo alert.
Yeah,
Live demo alert.
Yeah, but don't worry. It is working. Like, this is a minor bug. But the thing is, the interesting thing about combat in HoloSim is that if you are sub-warping, you can be intercepted by other players. And what happens is that they can attack you as long as you are in that system. The thing is, if you warp to engage them, you have, of course, your warp cooldown when you warp.
I needed to reload. That was the problem.
Oh, you didn't have ammo? I see.
No. Yeah, there you go. Now I've destroyed the newt, and I have his loot. He had 800 food on board. So I'm going to loot that wreckage. And I now should have 800 food in addition to the 2,000 that I had on board. So,
and that's the cool thing, guys. Like, for example, you can be ambushed, but if you have your cooldown, if you have the warp free, you can escape after the first hit. So you need to understand the movements of the fleets going around. And one important thing, after you warp, there's a cooldown to dock in starbases. So you can't just escape to your starbase. There will be a time where you are still vulnerable and you can still be attacked by this logic. So we created all this system in order to foster combat, in order to enable you guys to test this mechanic, to give us feedback, and really go after your friends. For the first time in Star Atlas history, you'll be able to kill each other, loot each other, and have fun together. But there's a lot more to HoloSim. Like, this is barely scratching the surface of the game. As we spoke before, we also have quests, right, John? Can you show them the quest interface real quick?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
here we go.
Awesome. The way that this works, guys, is that we have a tutorial first where we teach players, the newcomers and people that don't know, for example, one of the gameplay loops in Star Atlas, every single aspect of the game. So, for example, when you go to the first quest, they will teach you the concepts like space station. As you can see, there is a summary of the quest you are currently on. in the right side of the screen, the tutorials tab, click expand to details. Click expand details to progress. John, if you want to show them how this works. Once John clicked this button, it opens up the quest reward so you can loot it, and it moves automatically to the next quest. So John's next quest is to form a fleet. And we also have some surprises. Guys, turn on the volume so you guys can hear the voice of your assistant Sage in the transmission.
And it is time we create your first fleet to start your adventures in this scenario. On the left side of your screen, you will see your sector interface. It will show your fleets, once we form them, and all other fleets in the sector. On the bottom of this interface, there is the hangar button. Click it, and on this new window that popped, hit Form a Fleet. Everyone starts the scenario, one humble air bike. As per the standard configuration, name your fleet, select the ship, and click Confirm. It's a small start, Captain. But this is the foundation of your galactic empire.
Let's go! This is super cool, yeah. So every quest has this voiceover. This is the tutorial environment, so you learn the basics of the game. Sage will walk you through. And we have lots of quests. Like, at this point, just for the soft release that we are doing now, we already have 72 quests lined up. And the idea is to take you guys from forming your first fleet all the way to building Titan ships. But we're not sure you guys are going to reach there because the trigger condition to finish this first season of HoloSim is the depletion, the redemption of all the contracts in the Middle East zone. So I am really looking forward to let you guys explore this product, to see the different quests, to specialize in different things, in different careers, to try the gameplay loops that we have designed, and to see for yourselves the possibilities, the endless possibilities that we have for Sage HoloSim free-to-play. Anything else, John, that you'd like to add? Oh, we have
Yeah. I
can.
Yeah,
Go on, John. Go on. We
Okay.
have so many things.
I'll take you guys through a couple of the really the departures from the Sage Starbase UI, things that we've taken advantage of because transaction fees aren't a thing and because transactions are instantaneous. One of the big ones is every fleet you form can be given basic instructions. And you could see when docking. And so that is this settings cogwheel at the top here. I'm telling this fleet, every time you dock, refuel, rearm, make sure you have food, and then you can set how much food as a percentage of your cargo hold, and reload, or unload the cargo, sorry. And so every fleet that you move for mining purposes will automatically just unload and refuel itself every time it docks at a nearby location. So if I start at the central space station and I send it to mine and then I bring it back and dock, there's no more like unloading cargo and managing cargo. It just empties everything out and fills itself back up again, and then you can send it off to mine again. So that basic automation kind of, there's about 6 actions that are taken there, and normally you'd have to pay for those on mainnet, and we're not sure if everybody wants those things, but here on AtlasNet there's no cost, so we figured we'd provide that as an option right off the bat. That leads us into the what we're calling the route manager. So once you've completed the tutorial, you reach level 5 and you unlock the route manager. And you can see that in the fleet menu, there's a new icon here. And if I select that airbike fleet that I just created at the central space station and I enable a route, I can choose a mining or a transport loop. And I can just tell it I want to mine at Aurora. I can choose the resource that's at Aurora, which is carbon, and then I can tell it to bring it back to Exodus, the Mudge Central Space Station. And I assign that role. The route manager will kick in. You'll see this little yellow light here. And whenever it gets into the queue, I've got all these other routes going on, but whenever it gets into the queue, that one air bike will fill itself up, it'll undock, and it'll head to Aurora to begin mining, and then it'll bring it back and it'll unload itself. So,
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
And just to highlight something, all the names in the map are lore names, so we are forcing you guys to learn the lore names. Deal with it.
Get
We still-
glorified.
exactly. We still have the
Glorified.
old names, very small under the lore names, but it is lore based. It's a scenario. We want the lore to be expanded across gameplay loops. So yeah, we are focusing on delivering the best game with the most lore integration possible. So it starts here with HoloSim.
Yep. A couple other low hanging things. The crafting interface got a nice upgrade. You can now search for recipes. I don't know what's a nice one. The hero, like the Calico hero. You get stats about the ships and how they perform against other ships in their category. The ship stats are specific to their class, so you're not going to be mining with your multi-role ship as effectively as you would with a miner. You're not going to be mining at all with your fighters because they actually burn. You're basically going to trade a full bank of ammo for an equal number of whatever you're mining. It's very inefficient. Your miners are vulnerable to attack though, and so you're going to want to pair them with fighters as escorts. Otherwise, your miners and your transport ships that are not robust fighters, that don't have the shields, that don't have the fighting capabilities, they're going to be vulnerable to attack. So it's not just everybody specializes in their own role. When you come in here and you want to craft something, you can now click on the item that you don't have. Like in this case, I don't have enough frameworks, and it will auto-populate that framework requirement for you, and then you can assign the number of crew that you want to it, and you can click start, and then you can go back to what you were doing before and say, okay, maybe I need electronics now. If I want enough electronics for a full ship, I'd need more polymer. Come in here and assign a few crew to that job as well, and then you can go about your objectives. I think I created a few new ships here. You'll notice everything's super smooth. There's no delay in anything getting approved. Everything's pretty much instant. And what else do we have here that's pretty awesome?
Another thing, John, is about the
yeah.
crew, right? Let's tell them about the crew
Sure.
system.
Sure.
Everyone
so
starts the game. Yeah, no, go on, John.
Yeah, sure. So everybody starts with 21 crew. You get a daily airdrop of an additional 21 crew. These numbers aren't set in stone. You'll notice none of these numbers are set in stone. So you may wake up tomorrow and your ship might get changed. Like the whole point of this sandbox is first to have fun, and second to like provide our community with something that they can interact with us in while we're doing development. It's all the mechanics are here, all the underlying systems are the same, but we've either added something that we've dreamed about doing for a long time that we wanted your opinion on, or we wanted to test, or the crew actually they're also different. Than you don't need as many crew as you would on mainnet, but your crew die when your ships die. So be very careful with your crew. If your crew are blown up, you're going to be losing those crew, right? So you can get them through the quest. There's a daily check-in quest. You come to the dailies tab and check in. You'll get your 100 Atlas and your 21 crew. And they're a big part of this equation. So use them wisely. Don't get them blown up.
Yeah, it's surely the bottleneck of HoloSim, the resource that's most precious in the game. It's crew for sure.
Yeah.
So take care of them.
Yep. Yeah. Power levels are roughly 3 to 1. So like you'd need 3 medium ships in a fleet to challenge a large. of the same class, like 3 medium fighters are a match for a large fighter, the large fighter has an advantage. 3 small ships, small fighters versus a medium fighter, the medium fighter has the advantage. But that's roughly the stats. And then sub warp speed is nice and slow. That gives people opportunity to participate in combat in many different ways. Warp cooldowns are significantly reduced. Warp ranges are different than they are in mainnet, and I think they're a little bit less, but the cooldown is also significantly less. We want you to be able to warp around and burn fuel without thinking about it. Your range, your ultimate range, is what should limit you during combat as a fighter. You should be warping in, doing combat, and getting back out. If you want to loot really valuable cargo, you're going to need to bring a transport ship with you to loot that cargo. Otherwise, you're just going to leave it there in space, and some other person can come along and they can loot it instead. So,
John,
Yep.
there's one last thing that I think it's important. We talk about XP as well, right?
sure. Yep. Okay, so we just reset the global leaderboard, and I'm gaining XP here now. But I think the reset actually threw a bug in there. So the leaderboard, which was working quite well, has only just a few people on it. So we'll have to get that sorted out. But you guys come in and you'll be able to participate in the leaderboard. You'll get the majority of your you'll get the majority of your XP through questing for the tutorial and for the whole storyline. I don't know if we touched on the storyline, but after your tutorial, you go into your career specialization. And the majority of the XP comes through questing, and that's to allow the automations to run in the background without really affecting your progression.
And your level gates the resources and recipes that you
Oh, yeah.
can access in game.
Yeah.
So you need to level up to get access to higher level resources, ships, and etc. You need to grind.
Yeah, so I can cover that a little bit. Loosely, the tiers line up with the levels that you need. Starbase upgrading is going to be a thing. We'll sort out the Atlas emissions for that in a couple days. Tier level 5 unlocks the route manager. It unlocks extra small ships, and then every 5 levels after that unlocks the infrastructure contract for the next zone. And so at level 5, you unlock infrastructure contracts for the safe zone and medium zone, early medium zone. And then at level 10, you can refine the resources that are necessary to make those contracts, and you unlock ships at level 10 for small ships. And then at level 15, you have access to the medium risk zone contracts. And those are the same raw resources that you need to make large and medium ships. And then at level, so that's at level 15. And then at level 20, you unlock medium ships. And 25, you unlock higher contracts, which are the basis for the large and capital ships. And then at level 20, you unlock the large ships. 25, higher resources. Level 30, commander ships, and so on. Capital ships, sorry, and then so on. So,
All right. I think that's it, John, because we don't want to disclose everything. Let them figure out the rest of the things by themselves by playing HoloSim when it's released, right?
I've got 2 things. Make sure you update your browser. We're using a version of one of these Solana packages for our wallet adapter that requires a really up-to-date version of your browser. That's sort of one of the problems with leading edge tech. So you got to do that. Make sure you do your daily check-in. If for whatever reason you don't have crew, the daily check-in will give it to you. Try not to give away anything else here. And I actually wanted to say thank you to Jacob, our CTO, for putting the energy in. Taking like this game came about through community feedback. We want to be part of testing. Tarinder, you made that pip request for the DAO last year in August, I think it was, and it was like, okay, well, this is the highest upvoted request that we have what can we do with this? It's not really DAO related, but our community really wants to be more involved in testing. So this is us inviting you to AtlasNet to be part of testing. No wallet required, no fees, just fun, just like experimenting with new features. So thank you to Jacob for doing that, to Michael Kane for putting in hours and hours and days on the questing system, and Jose on the lore. This wouldn't have existed without them. To Jim for the faction chat and the agentic AI stuff, and and to Wagner for letting us do it. It's been pretty awesome working on this for the last couple of months. So,
and to you as well, John.
Legends.
You pushed this so hard. This only happened, guys, because John was there pushing everyone forward. W's in the chat for John. This is a huge achievement for the company.
Values.
Team's done a really good job rallying around this, and I couldn't be more impressed with how far along this project has progressed in a very short period of time with virtually no resources. You know, and I say virtually no. I mean, their team effort has gone into it, but again, relative to the big picture of everything that we're building and all the people we have on the team, like a lot was done here in a very short period of time. So a really great job, and a big thank you to playtesters as well. This was opened up a couple weeks ago to playtesters in a dedicated Discord server, and the feedback and responses from them has informed how this has evolved over time. So many thanks for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
now we're going to tell them the launch date.
You do it, John. You do it.
Yeah, we're doing it live.
Well, before you do that,
Okay.
actually, go ahead, John. Go ahead. Share the
Okay.
date.
It's live. It's live. There's the URL there, holosim.staratlas.com. We've been playing on the live server, so that's open to everybody. Come and take my crown of leaderboard level 19.
Let's go, guys.
And Darwin. Yeah, Darwin's pretty high on the leaderboard too. Or he
Be
was
careful
yesterday.
with Darwin on combat.
Darwin's the last boss.
He's
of
reckless.
HoloSim. He's
Yep.
reckless.
I have a few more things I want to talk about on this, just as we round it out. Want to address some of the questions that are out there in the community as well. But first thing to note on this is that the UI here is a little bit behind what you see in Sage, and Sage is that UI is actually behind on some of the work that we've been doing with Coherent tool set that Brett referenced much earlier in the town hall now. But ultimately, there will be a goal to bring consistency across all of the game UIs from Fleet Command and Unreal Engine and the UI elements there into Sage C4, and then ultimately into HoloSim as well. That's work that's going to be taking place over the course of the year. So a little bit disparate right now, a little bit spread out right now, but everything converges onto a single unified design language as we get into the later part of the year. I would also note that HoloSim, Jose touched on this, but the concept here is that it is a holographic simulated version of the Gallia expanse, and so this is a meta game that exists within and across Star Atlas. And so when you're in Unreal Engine, and as we work on feature parity of C4 into Fleet Command, players will have that option of selecting the HoloSim and engaging in this this game directly within. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for calling that out. Really appreciate it. Well, that is the target audience. So, but you'll be able to engage in HoloSim directly within Fleet Command as well. And that's, we'll figure out exactly what the UX is there. But this is another opportunity to expose players to 4X RTS style gameplay in Unreal Engine, and something that they could even do in their downtime. Again, I'm thinking to whatever extent there's any time in between matches, say an arena shooter, we've talked about this idea that you can very quickly toggle between macro management down to the micro level, and maybe you're engaged in some arena shooter matches, you're earning your XP, you're leveling up your characters, you're getting some nano goo that is an exotic resource. And while you wait for that instance to load, you just go into macro map view, pull up HoloSim, and you start and you play this in between. So kind of a time killer and a gap. Now, I will say I don't think that our community is necessarily the target audience for this, although this is going to be the first opportunity that you have to engage in combat. Now, the combat systems are going to operate a bit different in C4, so you'll definitely want to engage in C4 PTR, but at least this is a chance for you guys to get that first experience and first taste of combat in a game. What this is really about is, again, casting that wide net and reaching a new audience, breaking outside of the echo chamber, bringing more people into Star Atlas in a way that has zero friction and zero cost and zero financial investment. I think that's appropriate for a Web 2 audience. I think that we could go after a mainstream gamer. We could go after the mobile space exploration gamer when we get this implemented into the mobile app stores. But I also think that this is a great opportunity for us to reach other communities across Web3 and introduce them into Star Atlas. And part of the way that we'll be encouraging that type of activity is that HoloSim is probably going to be the first time where there's kind of a play to airdrop concept that is introduced in Star Atlas. Since inception, we have always coupled financial and capital investment into the game with your earnings potential. Now, what that means is eventually we are going to add some incentives and rewards to this, and we can do that through a couple of different tracks. It could be leaderboard based with seasonal content, and those who place highest on the leaderboard get some mainnet asset reward. It could also be kind of randomness based, which would be introducing something like the Golden Carnival, where progression earns you tickets, and then those tickets can be used during a periodic drawing, like we did with Golden Carnival again. It could also be progression based. And so for somebody that completes all of the underlying objectives and missions, including the tutorial, there's a welcome bundle that they receive. Now, part of the purpose of doing that is bridging them then over to mainnet, because they will need to have a Solana wallet at that point to receive the assets. And the goal is to bridge them over into the live economy. Now, we see a big opportunity here in eventually communicating and converting people into mainnet economy users, mainnet game users, because this potential for real earnings, which just simply doesn't exist, at least not at the scale that it does in SAGE and broader Star Atlas ecosystem. So really excited about all of those things. And again, I think it's super cool that we've been able to integrate the chat system. Jim Carter, big shout out there, as well as on the SAGE AI system. Jim Carter's also been pivotal in the development of those. Also want to shout out Chris. I don't think we actually mentioned him, but Chris was obviously involved on economic design elements of this game as well, and so worth calling him out there. But I think that was everything I wanted to cover. But again, really excited about the potential for this to attract both a Web3 audience that's maybe interested in mainnet incentives and rewards and getting them integrated into Star Atlas, engaged in this product, and then ultimately moving over into SAGE itself. And then largely, even if all of that failed, guys, one of the big things to note here is even if all of that failed, but it was successful at attracting a mainstream gamer audience, we still have these separate monetization hooks that we're going to be integrating into it. That's really good for the studio, and anything that's good for the studio is good for our future, and can help us grow and scale and continue building this dream of Star Atlas. So a lot of promising stuff here. John Jose, great job presenting all of this. Amazing work across the board and across the team.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Excellent town hall. See you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Dude, crazy town hall,
Son-
Michael, huh?
Crazy town hall, man. Crazy town hall. I think we downplayed it as much as we could too.
We did. We did. It's nighttime already for me. There was sunlight when we started.
Started in the morning, and you missed your
Yeah.
gym session, I bet.
I miss my gym session. Yes, that's true. That's true. But it's very well worth it for sure. Very well worth it. I think this was one of the best town halls that we ever hosted. Again, as Michael was saying, we're not hyping anything up, but we could have done it for this one for sure. We estimated over 2 hours. What is it? 3 hours and 20 minutes now of pure information drop and even a product release. So I think it was a fantastic one. Thanks to all the Star Atlas team members that joined the stage and helped us explain everything we have going on. And also to all the Star Atlas team members as a whole, even if they didn't join the stage, they're working every single day, every single hour almost to get this vision further along. So, and thanks to everyone who joined and who was here also for the 3 hours, for the 3 full hours. We love you guys. Over 200 people here, over 220 people for the whole show for 3 hours, plus I think like 3,000 views or more on X. And I saw around 50 people watching live on Stratlas TV on YouTube. So that's pretty amazing. It's unbelievable. And I hope you guys are happy with everything that we shared. Michael, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I mean, really great to get all of this out. We've we've had to fight hard to keep this all under wraps, but I think you make a great point. We're not focused on hyping anything up. We're really letting our work speak for itself, and it's shouting from the rooftops right now. So incredible progress over the course of this year, in spite of what is otherwise, chaos out there and graveyards out there. But we're here to stay. I would go so far as to say there's no potential future where this idea of Star Atlas doesn't exist, and the team's just extremely passionate and dedicated to achieving those goals. And again, the work really speaks for itself. So great town hall.
Great town hall, man, and nothing to add to that. I think it's been fantastic. I think everyone is super excited about it. And it's been a lot of information, but don't worry, we got you covered. There will be many ways in which you can digest everything that we shared. First, I see someone already shared that link, but tomorrow we have the Star Atlas Economic Forum, where we'll have Chris and Gareth on stage, and they will be doing a C4 Q&A for economic. So if you're into SAGE at all, I think you should definitely join that one. Don't miss it. And then next week we'll have Brett on stage with us at the brew for a C4 specific brew, where he will be replying also Q&A fashion probably. And also there are brews in many, many languages over the course of this week and the next one as well. So if you either speak Spanish, Portuguese, French, I think Turkish as well, Italian, there's probably a brew in your respective Discord chat, your Discord language community. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll also be posting a Medium article that summarizes everything that we shared here today. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for staying with us for the 3 full hours and for supporting Star Atlas as always. And hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Just to close out, we're not giving any dates on C4. We are still anticipating probably a couple more months before we roll out the C4 PTR. So I mentioned that because a couple of people are talking about transferring assets back to the CSS. I do want to emphasize we have a transition plan. I'd actually encourage you to continue playing Sage Starbase and wait until we announce what that migration or transition plan looks like before making any critical decisions there, so as to save yourself some time and avoid some frustration. We're already planning on another big town hall. Not to downplay this one, it was absolutely massive, but we're already preparing for that, and future releases. And thinking about the latter half of the year, we didn't touch on anything surrounding tokenomics on this. I think we have fundamentally some of the best tokenomics that exist in any Web3 game, and seeing the traction and success of that largely relies on some growth. And so, beyond our other objectives this year around simplifying onboarding and creating those fun and engaging products, it's about growing the user base. And as we get into the latter half of the year, we have some thoughts on Polis integration into C4. We also have some thoughts around getting work put into the Atlas Locker addendum and bringing some of those benefits for having Atlas locked. So we think comprehensively about the entire ecosystem, about every asset and every token. But those are all to come, and just going to take a little bit of time. But otherwise, hope you guys enjoy HoloSim. Santi, thanks for being my host up here as always, and thank you for the team for all of the hard work. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until the next one.
Yeah. Take advantage of the Data Runner sale right now, guys. And we'll close with some music for you guys.
Nice.
Bye-bye. Thank you.